The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Today is Friday, July 9th, 2021. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been an eventful week for Black people across the globe. We're still tracking events that occurred in Haiti with the assassination of the Haitian president. We're still covering all the critical issues that are important to us, but we really need to take a look at how serious the situation is for Blackness in this country, as compared to the way that this system makes a game of it, how so many people take the racism that we face as a joke. Up first on the clock with Georgia Ford.
I am independent journalist Georgia Ford. Thank you so much for joining us. This morning, we're going to turn to a situation that is unfolding in Ramsey County. The sheriff there, Bob Fletcher, is under fire now currently after being called out for some racially charged remarks he made during a live stream. Oftentimes, he goes live on his Facebook and his YouTube. He's received more than 13 million views on these live streams. He says that each night he goes, what he says, live on patrol in order to build trust in the community so that there's some transparency for how he operates when he's out on calls. And, you can hear all of these sidebar conversations that he has with either other people who are in the patrol with him or people on the street. And so this footage that we're going to show you, it shows him making a statement that references something that would be considered violent for people who came before us. Take a listen, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think about this.
All right, sorry we were muted for a little bit. We're just exchanging some intelligence information with the same Paul. All right, sorry we were muted for a little bit. We're just exchanging some intelligence information with the St. Paul squad there on some possible addresses of some criminal suspects, which we didn't want aired before we actually go swing by those addresses. Hope you can understand that.
Yeah, we don't want them to know that we know the addresses.
100 years ago, though, we would have just told them, okay, son, you got till sundown to get out of town. Till sundown.
So as you heard him there, he just made a joke about getting out of town before the sun's down. A sundown town is what a lot of people took away from that. And he has now been called out by city councilors as well as the community. But his response was that he had no idea what a sundown town was, and he was referencing old Westerns. And so I want to bring in Brother Carl Mack and Anthony Galloway to get your take on this. Do you think that his remark was innocent and he legitimately did not know? Or do you think that it is a way to cover up him in what some people would say was a dog whistle, him to cover up his own dog whistle?
I'm a resident of Ramsey County, first and foremost, and I think it's important to point out that these night drives by the sheriff are often into areas that already have a police force. So our county force it is not jurisdictionally supposed to be for places that already have their own police force. And in this case, in St. Paul has a police force. St. Paul has a police force that is doing their job. So it's all show. And I think that's an important part of it. The second piece is he's also, Ramsey County has had a huge equity initiative. So this either shows, one, that he absolutely did know and should have known that reference and just either ignored it, or hasn't been paying attention to the work that's been happening in the county around connecting these dots. So I'm in the camp firmly of you knew what the reference is and is just trying to backpedal. The second piece to that is his response continued to say is that's a reference to Westerns, and the people that they were talking to were white, as if somehow that absolves the impact on communities of color. So I'm in the camp of this is something that you should have known, and you just ignored either your training, your learning, or your experiences with the people of color in the very community that you serve.
Georgia, from my perspective, this is clearly an example of those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it, which is why, you're not going to convince me, that sheriff will never convince me that he didn't understand the history between law enforcement and the African-American community, number one. I think it's clear, and to the reference that was already made, I know in Mississippi, I live in Hinds County, and we always knew in Rankin County, you better be out of Rankin County, quote unquote, before the sun goes down. And then we had a similar situation, as our brother described, where you had officers from Rankin County that would literally come over into Hinds County, feeling empowered, feeling that feeling of superiority, of even chasing African-American folks out of town. So that the mere fact that he, quote, did not know, that's nonsense. I think he's playing, and again, this is part of what Trump has revealed to America, and that is the one good thing about what Trump did, was he gave folks and empowered people to the point that they think that they can come like this. And it's clear to me that sheriff and his cowboys are playing to that Trump base, and that's what keeps his viewership up so live, is trying to capitalize off of racism. So the idea that he did not know, no, the history between law enforcement and the African-American community, that is known through and throughout.
And let's be clear. So if a Black person was to go into a sundown town after sundown, what would happen?
Make no mistake about what was happening. I know back in Mississippi, and again, I'm not saying that this is germane to Mississippi, so I don't want folks to get twisted about this, because this situation is taking place in Minnesota. But when those cameras aren't rolling, it was common knowledge that you was going to get a beat down of epic proportion, so that you can now go back to the community and now spread that message. Don't get caught in Rankin County before the sun goes down. So,
And was that in like the 20s, the 30s? Like what era was that?
No. This situation I'm talking to you about literally is happening right now in counties, just like it's happening in Minnesota. So that's the thing I don't want people to get confused, is when I say Mississippi, I don't want to paint this narrative that it's just happening in the southern state of Mississippi and down in the South. This is happening all over the place.
Yeah.
So here we have the sheriff who he's live on patrol, and he has someone in the vehicle with him. He mutes his audio so that they could discuss where they were going. And clearly, if you're live streaming, let's say you're going to a suspect's house who is watching, and then you say where you're going. Obviously, now the suspect knows that you're coming to them. So he muted his audio. And then he made a remark, and he said, I hope you guys understand why we had to mute the audio. He said, but 100 years ago, we would have just told the guy to get out of town before the sun goes down. And so it's a very clear reference that has some racially charged implications. And for him to play the card of being ignorant and, I had no idea. And I think it's even, it looks bad on his behalf to say that he was referencing even Western movies. Why are you playing cops and robbers? Why are you playing cowboys on the job when people's lives are at stake here? And so I think for me, knowing that he's been in this position, this is his second term, and either you're the lack of cultural competency to not even know that this is a thing, that this has and I don't buy it. I'll be clear. I don't buy it. I don't think that he was unaware that there was some racially sensitive insinuations with referring to a sundown town. I think he was very well aware. And I think it's very important that we begin to hold law enforcement agencies accountable, not just for what they do, but for what they say, because then we stop moving to a place of where we're reacting every time someone's killed. But then we start to move to a place where we can prevent people from being killed. Because if you have that type of bias or lack of care for other cultures, that you could say something so harmful and reference something that is violent, it has violent connotations for a specific group of people, there has to be accountability for that.
There's a very important piece here, and my brother, you mentioned not wanting to connect Minnesota and Mississippi. As a Minnesotan, I'm going to go ahead and connect Minnesota and Mississippi. We have a policy thing that's happening here historically. So racially restrictive covenants were on the books in many of our suburban areas and in parts of our urban areas, and only were removed with the passage of the Civil Rights Bill, and then had to be enforced de facto afterwards in a particular way, in law enforcement and local communities with this mentality. We're a part of that. I also need to mention the fact that, if we're going to make reference to Westerns, this is also very problematic in a state where we have deep connections to our native communities. We have populations of Dakota and Anishinaabe people all the way back to the 1862 Dakota War here in Minnesota. So this idea of a sundown town, reference to Westerns is extremely problematic for what Westerns represent to the native population, of which Ramsey County has a significant population. The other piece that I'll say, and this is underscored in James Lowen's book, Sundown Towns, of which one of our major cities, Edina, is referenced in there from Minnesota. Again, that connection to the Mississippi practice, right? So sundown towns may have been, quote unquote, illegal after civil rights legislation, but we have cities who remain, the demographics remain the same as they were prior or back in the days when racially restrictive covenants were legally on the books, and they are enforced in these cultural ways, from the culture of the policing in an area to the culture of the community in the area to the selling of real estate. So there are these deep connections to everything that is here, which just underscores how we do Mississippi nice here in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. And I've always said, reason and stupid can never have a conversation. And so what that sheriff is trying to do now is, through his stupidity, trying to have a conversation with those of us who are reasonable. That whole mindset of that cop mentality, that cowboy mentality, even Hollywood plays into it. One of the law enforcement shows that used to have such incredible ratings, and I dare say it probably still does within law enforcement community, is the show Cops. They want to be able to go out there and portray themselves as this all-encompassing patrol that is protecting the integrity. And then look who the victims are 9 times out of 10 on shows like that. So they're getting their training even through Hollywood, and they think of this in some kind of way as entertainment. There is no explanation that this sheriff would give to anybody of any common sense within our community to think that he did not know better. This is the culture within this profession, if you want to call it that. And I consider them thugs. And the reason I say thugs is because in the quintessential definition of the word thug, it means that a person knowingly does harm and wrong. And I'm not going to excuse his ignorance or his excuse as ignorance, that of not knowing. He absolutely knows the culture between law enforcement. And then of all places, we're talking Minnesota, we're talking about a place where the death of a brother, George Floyd, literally rocked the foundation of equality and police brutality in this country. He did not know that. No, I will absolutely not accept his quote unquote ignorance as a reason for that. He absolutely knew what he was doing. He knew what he was saying. And I say that he is playing to that Trump base, as many white law enforcement officers, as many Republicans in politics are doing. They're playing to that base for nothing more than power and acceptance within your community.
What we're looking at here, it was a situation that happened in Ohio, a little bit different, but similar, where you had the Ohio police chief who left a KKK note on the desk of a Black officer. We also saw something similar happen in Hamilton, Georgia, where the conversation between the chief of police and a colleague was caught on camera. And he said all of these racist things, including some very derogatory statements about Stacey Abrams. So we're continuously seeing, like, it's being revealed that the culture within these departments are very, very racist. And so it should not surprise us when unarmed Black men and women continue to be killed by law enforcement, because the culture, it cultivates that type of behavior. If you do not address it at its root, if you do not call it out and weed it out when it shows its head, just in the form of a little silly racist joke, if you don't call it out and weed it out, what do you think it is going to grow into? And so while I know it is extremely critical that we get legislation passed to address police accountability, I also think it's equally important that when we're not in session, that we continue to examine the culture within these departments, because I do not want to be here on this show next week, next month, or next year.
That's it.
Discussing police accountability because another Black person has been killed. What is it that we can do on the front end? How can we address situations like this so that we prevent more Black people being killed by police? This type of behavior within police departments is not only unprofessional, extremely unprofessional, but we have to move to a place as a society where it is unacceptable.
You know, Brother Galloway, I'm sure you and Brother Dixon probably picked up on the same thing I picked up on, in Georgia, when you showed the clip. I'm tripping at the reaction of the Black officer. See, had that been me, I would have pulled a can of whoop ass out and commenced to open that can on any and everybody who was a part of. And
Come on.
Again, that goes to the saying, hunt ain't fun when the rabbit got a gun. But now look at him. You know,
come on,
on the brother. Just put a pair of oh, look at it, it's so funny. God. I'm telling you right now, it would have been a war up in that zone. Both of them cats would have got an absolute beat down of epic proportion.
Give me the response shot. Give us the 4-shot response shot, because I saw that.
Yes,
and Georgia, I'm like, part of the reason we can't get any progress is because the people on the inside are laughing at these racist jokes. What's going on in this?
So, you know, I'm reminded, my father-in-law has a book called Diesel Heart, where he recounts he was one of the first class of Black officers in 72 in St. Paul to come through. And one of the things he talks about is sometimes, you know, he's not somebody who's going to back down. Like his first time on patrol, he ended up in a fight where he had to fight a whole house of racist folks on Rice Street. You know, so I absolutely get that sentiment. But he also talks about the fact that, you know, sometimes when you are surrounded and there ain't no back door out, you know, the other thing that's in my mind is the best thing I might be able to do is smile in this moment, because I'm not quite sure what the back door is in this situation.
Right, so let me give you this of being in what I'm gonna call a similar situation in my profession as an engineer. I know that when we would do these startups, you know, you had systems. One was the primary system, the other was the backup system. And I would go into a meeting with a bunch of white engineers and construction workers. And as we're talking about the startup of these systems, they would refer to one of the programmers, the PLC, programmable logic controllers, as master and slave. I'm sitting there listening to that, and I told them, you will never refer to that as master and slave in my presence again, or even in our documentation. You say primary, secondary, A, B, 1, 2. Do not refer to that as master and slave. I absolutely would not have it. Now, when all these white folks looked at me like I was in my feelings, the next time they did it, I slammed my paper down and said, this damn meeting is over as far as I'm concerned. And the next time somebody do that, I won't be as pleasant as I am now, and took that all the way up to the county executive to stop it. So in the words of Charles Hamilton Houston, I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees. Say that what you want to say. I don't care what the odds are. If that's what it calls for, somebody is going to catch a beat down of epic proportion, whatever the cost is. Sometimes it just comes a point in your life when you just have to stand up and do that. Because to me, a joke like that, that's like saying your mama.
Yeah.
And you don't say your mama and it's a joke with me. And in our community, we know that. Now, you can say your daddy, you might get away with it, but your mama, you don't catch that one.
Let me give the Georgia, if you don't mind. Let me just give the counterbalance to what, because you guys were talking about Minnesota, you're talking about Mississippi. I'm thinking about Cobb County in Georgia. The same it's not sundown, but the way they treat marijuana possession and the possibility, like there's a report. I mean, it's all over the country how this happens. But I'm thinking in this instance of my time in Boston, when I lived in Boston, and I was out playing poker by myself. Boston, what is it, like 3% black? And as I was walking through, I accidentally stepped on somebody's toes. It was a group of white guys. I got called the N-word, but I was in like the South Shore of Boston by myself. And Anthony, I was looking for that back door that you were talking about. So in my, it's just different circumstances for different people, because I kept moving. Brother Mac, I should have laid hands at that point. I hear what you're saying, but for me, it was time to get out that back door. However, for this police officer in this video, none of his stories is what we went through. All of our stories are different. If we could run that footage one more time, I want you to see, this is why structurally, like I understand this guy might have some Stockholm syndrome. If you could run that video one more time, but I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy caught on camera laughing about KKK.
No, and see, Ben, let me share with you all another story. When I became executive director of the National Society of Black Engineers, we had a conference in Dallas. Now you got to imagine that a NSBE conference is attended by anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 young African-American students professionally dressed. And so at the end of one of our days of being in Dallas, now we had a party at the convention center. So you had this mass of young, professional, talented, academically excellent students. And as the convention was letting out, somebody called the cops and said, reported that all these black folks are around the convention center. Do you know that these fools showed up in riot gear? They showed up in riot gear to address my children, and then had the audacity to put in a bid to host our conference again. So when I went to talk to Dallas, I told them this. Number one, you will write a public letter of apology to the leadership of our organization. You will apologize profusely to us. Short of that, to think that you can insult my children, my people in such a way, and then think we're going to turn around and come back to your city and infuse your city with anywhere up to $15 million, you done lost your rabid, ever-loving mind. And this is the type now, as far as the cop goes, and brothers, I promise you, I don't want to sound like, I want to be a martyr and I'm all hero. I get that there's sometimes that you have to recognize that you're the deer and you're on the Serengeti and the lion rules. But in the case of this brother, keep in mind, now, he was strapped. So if it came to that, I'm just saying.
Well, and so I think you bring up a good point, and there's some accountability, right? It's like, if you are going to mistreat us, there's going to be accountability. We are not going to patron your city anymore. There has to be accountability. And so it makes me think of, I want to turn now, we talked earlier this week about a fatal officer high-speed chase. It claimed the life of the uncle of Darnella Frazier. Darnella Frazier is the woman who filmed George Floyd's murder. And so now here she is grieving again by a killing, a death that has happened due to Minneapolis Police Department, but this time it is her uncle. The high-speed chase was caught on camera. So when we initially learned about this incident, we were wondering whether or not the police vehicle had their sirens on, whether or not they had their lights on. Neighbors were saying they did not see the lights on. And it does appear in the footage, however, that the lights of the police cruiser were on at the time of this high-speed chase. But it raises the question again about very specific policies within police departments. And this is not an exclusive issue, again, to just here. We talked to Changa Wright in Columbus, Georgia, who is suing the city of Columbus, suing the Columbus Police Department for their policies after a police officer claimed the life of a baseball coach during a high-speed chase. So this is happening across the country, where police departments are trying to figure out how to adjust their high-speed chase policies, because when they enter into a high-speed chase, they're ultimately putting everybody in the public at risk. And so with this new footage that has just surfaced, it does show that at least they had their lights on. We still don't know if they had their sirens on, but what difference would that make to a person who is just driving down the street? If I'm just driving to, I think he was going to his girlfriend's house. If I'm just driving to my partner's home and I hear sirens or I see lights, yes, you might pull over, but in this case, look at how the cop car just slams into, how could you avoid that even if you saw the lights or heard the sirens?
But Georgia, again, if you're in a high-speed chase on the highway, yeah, okay, maybe I can kind of understand it. It looks to me like you're in a residential community doing this kind of high-speed chase. So, it's just completely uncalled for. Absolutely.
There's also an interesting intersection that's happening here as we are evaluating who we are as a people here in the United States. I want to call attention to the fact that in other countries, in other places, we have a focus in our legal system around intent, where other spaces have a focus on impact. And I think this is a very interesting shift that is in the process of being made, and that is being called for here, is that regardless of the intention, that we start to move to addressing impact, right? And basing our policy around the impacts that it has on communities. And I think that shift is one of the things that is being aggravated here. And I had the same reaction, brother, around it's looking like it is a residential area. And so, in addition to just looking at policy after it happens, a shift to focusing on impact and therefore putting our policy in regards to the impact that it's going to have on communities is an important shift that needs to happen. And so regardless of whether or not, the circumstances of this chase, an innocent bystander, we didn't even have to say the word innocent, a bystander is killed. Right. And it's further aggravated by the fact that this is the family of the woman who gave us the footage that gave us the semblance of justice for Derek Chauvin. Yeah,
I think I'm listening, Anthony. I think you tapped into the key in this entire conversation: the impact versus intent. And we see the same thing not only in this clip, because in this clip, it's very possible that we're not going to see any justice for this at all, because the intent was the apprehension of some criminal. And we see with qualified immunity, while this may not be a precise qualified immunity case, we already know the precedent is set that so long as police officers are some way, some form or fashion remotely doing their work or remotely could get away with it, that this legal system actually allows police officers to get away with it. That said, that intent versus impact piece, that goes back to these jokes, right? They're playing games with our lives. They're making jokes about our lives. That KKK, that's a joke about our life, right? The sundown town, that is a joke about our life. And it only makes sense that when they can joke about our life and think that will have no impact, that we need to look at the impact afterwards, because I don't care what they say their intent was, the impact is very real, tangible damage to Black life.
And Brother Dixon, and Brother Galloway, to take it from a theoretical aspect of intent versus impact, which is a very profound thought, Brother Galloway, thank you so much. I'm reminded of when I was chief servant of the NAACP in Seattle. We had a case, and it was before my administration, where there was a brother by the name of Bascom who was in his apartment. Let's call it apartment A. The police had a warrant for apartment B. Brother's sitting in his living room on his couch watching the TV with a remote control in his hand. Their warrant said apartment B. He's in apartment A. They break into apartment A, the wrong apartment. He's on the couch. He turns around with the remote in his hand. They say gun, shoot and kills him. The prosecutor says the exact same thing, Brother Galloway, that you mentioned. Well, the intent was not there to do harm to this brother. And nobody was held accountable for that. Nobody. So it's one thing to talk about it theoretically, which is, again, a very profound point that you made. But we are seeing this played out in the judicial system that gives them, as you said, Brother Dixon, this qualified immunity that when they do that, they make a mistake like that. And I think we had a situation like that in Texas where the woman claims that, a brother was breaking into her place or wrong place. So as they said, the pathway to hell is paved with good intentions.
Good intentions. Yeah.
There's a full circleness to all of this, because one of the people who spoke out against the sheriff that we were talking about in the beginning, when she was running for office, one of the stories that endeared me to her perspective is her. This is Commissioner Mata Castillo. Her husband was profiled on the lawn of their home in a very similar way. And so, the full circleness of this, and now we're getting folks who are coming into office with these stories, being able to use them and speak to them, the realness of that impact, right? So what that tells to me is that the burden is not just trying to shift culture and thought and experience of folks, but we also have to jump over the hurdle of when we move from theory to practice to not just proving that these things happen now that we have video footage, but then also trying to get past this intent bar. And then even if you get past the intent bar and we start having a conversation about what the impact should be, there's a whole nother line of defenses against whether or not we can afford it, whether or not, I mean, we have right now folks who are debating whether or not we can restore the harm of 94 in the Rondo community here in the city of St. Paul, the community that was removed, like so many communities, to put the highway through. I just want to point out that these threads are connected. It weaves a tapestry of systemic racism across this country that is, I'm seeing, trying to be oversimplified into individual spaces as part of subterfuge to not deal with the real issue, the real on the ground, as you just alluded to.
And
Georgia, I know we got to go, but Anthony Galloway, could I say that it is woven into the tapestry of white supremacy across this country? You, my friend, with phraseology like that, I want to see you here as often as we can get you here.
Yes,
That is exactly what it is. There's an interconnected tapestry across every single city, county, state, where our stories that are happening to us locally in our county are replicated across the country. I'm sorry, Georgia, back to you.
Oh, no. I was just getting ready to wrap, and I want to thank Brother Mac and Anthony Galloway for being here for this powerful conversation this morning. And for those of you who are watching, keep it here for more on The Benjamin Dixon Show.
The tapestry of white supremacy that is woven across this country. I just have to pause and thank Brother Anthony Galloway and Georgia Fort and Dr. Mack for that conversation. In particular, the part about impact versus intent. I don't care. Thank you, Anthony, for that. We as Black people cannot afford to care. We as human beings cannot afford to care what a system that has power says its intent was, when that power and the impact of that power has been deleterious to so many people. We cannot afford to let them get away with the excuse of their intent. We have to look at their impact. Anthony, thank you so much for that. DJ Exclusive, let's go to a quick break. When we come back, Dr. Mack is going to join us again. DJ Exclusive is going to be with us. We have to cover some national politics. We'll be back. More Benjamin Dixon Show right after this.
Good morning, everyone. Hope y'all are ready, man. Make sure you got your tea, your coffee, your drinks, whatever it is you need to get your morning started. It's the Benjamin Dixon Show, like it or not, on the clock with George Fort. It's going down. Good morning, everybody.
I know my value. I'm gonna recoup it. Don't waste my energy, my energy. I don't got much, don't be wasting all my energy. I keep it tight, don't let nobody get close to me. My heart is right, don't question my integrity. No, I thought we would be just fine, and I thought your heart was like mine. But let me find out, you've been going around throwing shots, running plots. Come on, man, trying to block my blessings.
Seven, sweetheart, good morning. Nat A, good morning, sister. Good morning to the family, y'all.
Yeah.
Latino, good morning. Brother Latif, shout out to you.
But pay me what you owe me for I make what you've been saying about me. True. Tell them I need my money right now.
Esther, good morning. Good morning.
You stay stole out my crown. Sorry to tell you, I know my value. I'm gonna recoup it.
Brother Chuck Diesel, good morning. Shay T, good morning. Nessa, good morning, y'all. Good morning.
But now it's clear you ain't ever
Dimitri.
My intuition ain't
On and on, Dragon. Good morning, y'all.
handle your business. Do what you think you need to do to get your revenge. But you won't break it, you got as my witness. That's the point of no return, I'm on a mission.
Latino, I appreciate you. Sophia, good morning, Miss Sophia.
What's wrong?
Evergreen, good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, I'ma go through just to grow through.
Shay T is actually both. There's coffee and tea. It's not at the same time.
True.
Yeah, that boy tell him you got the tongue. Yeah, I know he can't miss me. See a boy a mile away, my kiss is really heavy.
Mark S, good morning to you. Stress Technoid, good morning.
Fresh Air Force Ones, denim things crispy. 2-piece, got them all jelly, get a biscuit. Going hard in the paint, I'm feeling like no whiskey. Ball out on them if I really wanna do it. Spot up or dribble, shooting. Drip on point, peep the execution. On a higher resolution, now you gotta see me do it. Now you
Sonny Wright, good morning, Dimitri, good morning.
Put us all up on it, big tracks. Jumping out.
Mar, did I call you out, Mar? Good morning, Mar.
Big man, I did some sad boys.
Shout out to everybody that's tuning in on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're streaming from, man. Especially hit that like button. Share and subscribe, y'all, so you know when liking the Not Benjamin Dixon show on the clock. Everybody's going down. No, human is
better make adjustments. I'm a walking bucket, I'm crispy. Yeah, that boy crispy. Had the tongue gleaming, yeah, I know they can't miss me. See a boy a mile away, my kicks is really head.
Kayla, good morning, Kayla.
And them boys really spitting. I just put an ISO logo on a damn sweater vest. I got little money, watching power, give us our respect. Damn, I be so fresh, and them boys be so clean too. Had them looking mad hard, damn, I didn't mean to, yeah. Feeling crispy, yeah. RP Nipsey, RP Pimp C. Do this for the late greats, tell these people make way. We been on the rampage, had to do our damn thing. Had to run the campaign, now we pour the champagne. ISO, that's the gang, yeah, we on the same word. Bad little Asian team, so I call it Lang Lang. Got it crying twice, so they know that we them king. Yeah, I'm icy on the wrist, that's the plain blank. Yeah, we on everything, no they can't box us in. We was standing outside, but they had to let us in. We the cure to the game like medicine. Now we on the better things. Hey, our name in the room like elephant.
Brenda Johnson, good morning. Danielle, good morning, y'all. Danielle was called Recoup. I got a name for you. I can't remember who sings it, but it was called Recoup. One of my favorite ones. Laser Sword, good morning. No Humanist, thank you so much for your super chat. We appreciate you.
I get what I need. Think we're okay, baby, you're dreaming. You brought this on us and you don't know how deep it goes.
Micah, good morning, Micah.
No, you don't know how much it hurts. You can't hold on. It's slipping through your hands. And I want to try to understand. It's all gone, it's all gone.
Mark, yes, I appreciate you.
You want
KFC.
I won't keep you around anymore. You're no longer the light I used to know. I can't help what I'm feeling. You think we're okay, baby? You're dreaming. You brought this on us, and you don't know how deep it cuts. No, you don't know how much it hurts. You can't hold on.
All right, KFC, we played the song for you. Make sure that you send a super chat with the family now, all right, brother? Magdalene Moon, good morning, morning. Carly Wynn, good morning.
Etched in my mind like filigree, visions of a gritty street.
Tiger, good morning.
I'm chilling deep at the hideout, that's my vicinity.
Oh, Tiger, please be careful out there. Please don't get into the shop matches now with the bosses.
Time to do my job, consider me the man of mystery, the secret agent. And you're the boss is known to be impatient. She needs the package, she says it's so close she can taste it. I saw the look in her eyes, I was unsurprised. Ain't nothing new, already been through this 100 times. She can't settle, hunger strong enough to smash metal. So I
Afraid not, good morning.
The gas pedal. Blast off across the asphalt like NASA shuttles. Cars in front of me, I pass a couple. Then check the rear view to see who's creeping behind me. Eyes in all directions, I'm never stepping blindly.
Peter Low Frequency, good morning. KFZ, I appreciate you, brother. It's cold outside. All right, y'all, welcome back to the screen. Benjamin Dixon and Brother Mac.
I'm never rushing, on time every time, no discussion.
Morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. DJ XXXclusive, how you doing, man? Brother Mac, we are back, and it is Friday. It is July 9th, 2021. I don't know what day you're watching it, but for us, today is Friday. And James, we talk about this all the time, but I'm gonna be honest with you, Friday in the pandemic is still Friday. I don't know what it is. Like, I thought being at home, stuck behind doors, Friday wouldn't be that important to me, but Friday is still Friday to me. What about you, bro?
Yeah, Fridays never changed for me during the pandemic because I still had to work 12 hours a day. So, yeah, Friday was still Friday for me.
Bro, Mac, I got to tell you, man, being retired, every damn day is Friday.
Right.
That was lit. So you read my mind because, because for you go and hit the golf course any day of the week. How does it feel? I mean, you can't be over. I'm not going to guess your age on air, but baby, you're not old enough. You're not old to be retired.
I'm smart enough to be retired, like it or not.
Like it or not, brother.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, listen, folks, we again, it is Friday, but there's still a lot of serious stories that are happening across the world. Rebecca Azor is going to join us at 9:00 for the Like It or Not segment, and we're going to be doing a deep dive into what is happening in Haiti. We're going to be joined by Dr. Alain Pompoulos, who holds a PhD in international development, and he is also of Haitian descent. He's part of the diaspora, and I know his work well. He's going to be joining Rebecca, and they're going to be discussing the geopolitical implications of what's going on in Haiti, because what's happening, Dr. Mack, what's happening to Black folks. We just got out of the segment where we were talking about what's happening to Black folks on the county by county level. I know Rankin County well. You're from Rankin County, Hinds County, right there in Jackson, Mississippi. I attended Northwest Rankin Attendance Center back in the day, so I know that county well. But what I also know well is that what we see replicated on our local level, we also see some of those same systemic factors replicated on the global level for Black people.
And Brother Dixon, let me first say, echo my sentiments about Brother Galloway. Just absolutely beautiful Black intellectual. I love that brother's mindset, the way he thinks, what he brings to us. So Brother Galloway, just know that you fed my soul this morning, just to listen to young Black intellectual thoughts that you have. And so thank you so much. Now, the other part, I want to say to anybody that's listening to us, some people will echo, things are never going to change. That's just the way it is. We're just rambling. Family, when you think like that, you're basically doing a disservice to the foundation that our ancestors have given us. To study this history and to know that there were days far, far darker than this. And we overcame, as Sister Ford said, we got to be one of the most bounced back people in the history of this country. And so for them to give us a foundation of where we are, Brother Dixon, you're in Georgia, right? Yeah. And so I remember when I first came to Atlanta, coming from Mississippi, and visited Atlanta, and they took me to some of the affluent communities. Mm-hmm. And they were telling me, man, they're all Black folks living here. It was astounding to me. It was absolutely astounding. So now being in the state of Georgia, try to imagine our ancestors who were enslaved in the state of Georgia being here today, and they're driving through these communities and seeing us live there. They would be absolutely it would be almost beyond their comprehension, given the dark days that they lived in. So the point that I'm trying to say, people, when you have this mindset that the issues that we're talking about, quote unquote, ain't never gonna change. Our ancestors never had that mindset. This is why it's so important for us to flush these things out and to have our intellectual brain power to create a think tank so that we can look at these situations and pad and forge our way, because that is what our ancestors did. They forged a way for us to have this type of platform today so that we can now change things. So if you're in that mindset that it ain't never gonna change, just know you my kin, you my skin, but you ain't my kin, because I don't have that mindset. I just don't have it. Like it or not, I don't have that for you, fam.
I feel that. Right. James, you got it, man. I want to know, like. Oh, I'm good. Yeah, because no,
spit some truth. That's real.
no, I'm just because I heard you saying amen at the same part I was saying amen at. I didn't want to, because I was getting ready to jump in there. You know me, I just jump in there and run my mouth. But I'm just, I mean, I guess that's the whole point of the channel, though. But I'm listening to you, Dr. Mack. And I'm thinking about
I'm Brother Mac on this.
Brother Mac. Okay, Brother Mac. All right, Brother Mac. I'm talking to you and I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about the conversation we had with Georgia Fort, and I had the producers pull the clip of James Baldwin because the excuse that officer used for using the sundown town was that he was saying, he was referring to like old westerns and whatnot. And then part of that conversation, it reminded me of what James Baldwin said in the debate with William F. Buckley, and where he describes the situation where it finally dawned on him as he was watching the cowboys and the Indians, right? Obviously, I'm putting Indians in air quotes for the people listening to the podcast. He had to come to the realization that while he was cheering for the cowboy, America viewed him as a quote unquote Indian. Let's take a look at that clip.
It comes as a great shock around the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to discover the flag to which you have pledged allegiance, along with everybody else, has not pledged allegiance to you. It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you,
Okay, I didn't expect that part at the end there.
It comes as a great shock to discover that the country, which is your birthplace, and to which you owe.
That's someone's YouTube editing at the end, but I think they were trying to emphasize the point, right? The point remains that, America has indoctrinated us to cheer for the person that's on that screen. But generally speaking, that person on that screen, in reference to what that officer was trying to use as an excuse, that very paradigm, we were victims of that very paradigm. Bro, Mac.
But let's say this here. If he wants to lay claim that he didn't understand the term sundown town by any other name is still sundown town. You knew what you was doing, player. We know that, you know that. But again, the other part that Brother Baldwin talks about is, when we pledge allegiance to that flag, I want to go back to a conversation we had about the 4th of July, and I made the bold statement and the true statement from my spirit that I do look at the 4th of July patriotically. I think the reason most Black folk don't look at it patriotically is a couple of reasons. Number one, they don't know about our role in birthing this nation during the American Revolution. Okay, that's number one. And number two, and most importantly, the lenses by which they look at, and when I say lenses, the lenses by which we look at the American flag is one of what white folks did. The lenses by which I look at that flag, my lenses are colored. I see my Blackness in all of that. So that's part of this struggle that we have to continue with. But as Brother Baldwin said, America, when you come up with these movies, these things, he's absolutely right. America loves cheering for the whiteness that they did, or the whiteness of who they are. I get that. Any group of people would do that. But it is important for us to understand our contributions, our developments, and not give it up. Trust and believe, America ain't what she ought to be, but she's damn well better than what she used to be. And we gonna help her to be what she needs to be as it applies to us. So again, this whole concept that it ain't gonna change, just know and believe, fam, I'm not in that camp. I ain't in that camp. Oh, America gonna get right. See, because our history says to me, there's a difference between being an owner, acting like an owner, and acting like a renter. When you renting a spot, you don't care if it stains on the carpets, holes in the wall. You don't care. But when that's your place, everything that is wrong with that place, with your home, you need to address. Everything that is wrong with America, we will address. And our ancestors have taught us that, how to address it. So this whole concept of it ain't going to change, man, get out of here. You don't represent nothing about what our ancestors stood for.
James, I do what I want to ask, because this is a question. And it's funny enough, like if we get some time, I want to talk with Dr. Pompoulos, Alain Pompoulos, about our trip to Costa Rica in our PhD program, because we had a conversation over there about America and our culture, and that conversation stuck with me to this day, obviously. But in that conversation, it really kind of hinges on this thing, like, do Black people, do we really feel like America is our home? Because according to all the work we've done, we really should feel like America is our home. But it seems like this system just don't want us to be comfortable, like Bro Mac was saying.
But they don't feel like they don't feel like America is their home, because we feel like we're not welcome. Everything that we go through with the trials and tribulations, getting knocked down and trying to get back up again, a lot of Blacks, no, they don't feel like they're home. And that's only because, like I said, we're not treated fairly. We feel that we don't get that same treatment. Like what Brother Max said, it's true, we should feel it because we built this country, we built everything around it. But the way that we're made to feel like we're so unwelcome, how our culture gets copied and, used for monetary gain. Yeah, a lot of Black people don't feel like they're welcome here.
But DJ, this is the point that I want us to get. See, when you say we don't feel that way, they don't treat us that way. In a sense, if you think about it, it's as though we're asking for validation from them. I don't need any validation from white America. My validation comes, if on one hand I want to say we helped build America, if on one hand I want to say we contributed to the development of America, I don't need validation from white folks to tell me that. My history has told me that.
That's it.
I don't need them to grant me anything. My ancestors paid the price. That debt is paid. I am here now. I am an owner. Like it or not, I am an owner. And so I'm out of that visitor mindset, looking for their validation. I don't need their validation. I know what Maya Angelou, what did she say to us, Brother Dixon? When people show you who they are, believe them. I believe. what most of them, I believe the Trumpism. I believe that. They've shown me that. See, the most beautiful part about being from Mississippi versus being from Minnesota or the state of Washington, and because I lived in Washington for so long, the state of Washington wants to paint itself as a very liberal state in the emerald green. But see, the beauty, the advantage of being from Mississippi is you knew where you stood. So you knew how to deal with that.
That's true.
It is that liberalism that you don't see when they patting you on the back and putting that knife in your back. It catches you off guard. So see, I know what America has shown itself. And when I say America, trust and believe, I don't mean to imply all the white folks, because there are some white folks who laid down the ultimate sacrifice in our struggle. So I don't mean to imply that. But America as a whole has some issues, and we're going to help them to get there. I don't need you, America, to come up and say, oh, Carl, I'm going to treat you nice. I'm going to like you. I don't give a damn if you like me or not, fam, but you're going to take them obstacles that you got in my way that prevents me from being all the American I can be. Them damn days is done with, fam.
That's it.
Absolutely. So DJ, the only thing I'm saying is move past that BS, and I'm calling it BS, not insulting to you, but I'm saying the BS mindset that we have, that America has to like us, or when is she finally going to come around? She ain't never going to finally come around. This struggle is continuous.
So what do we do then for that respect? That's what I'm saying. I don't care if you like me or not. What are you going to do to respect us as a community? And like you just said, Dr. Meg, you said a good point right there, and allow us the same liberties and freedoms and everything else that you white folks are afforded. That's what we want, that respect part, because we can go and we can protest and we want that stuff and we can do certain things. But as black people, especially around our time, we going to hit roadblocks. And sometimes getting through those roadblocks is just like a pain in the ass. And we try to go for it and we do everything we can just to get knocked down. And we still to that same roadblock. Just like the sister did, oh my gosh, Fannie was,
Fannie Lou Hamer.
Yes, going to vote. And that's the same thing, but she broke through, and I'm glad that did happen. And I just wish that everybody has that same mentality, like, yo, because Brother Mac, I feel you, and I'm on the same mentality you are. We got to keep pushing through and keep breaking it, because at the end of the day, we may not get that respect. But at the end of it, we still have to make our own and keep on pushing.
You hit it on the head of that respect. How do we get that respect? See, that lesson lies in the life, to me, of Thurgood Marshall. He best exemplifies that. See, America respects the Constitution. And so what did Thurgood Marshall do? He took the very document that America says she respects, that Constitution, he rolled it up and made it into a bat. He took a bunch of copies of it and made it brick hard, and he pounded them upside their head with it. And what did the respect do? I don't care that you don't like me, but the respect that I can go to any college and university I want to, done.
Right.
The fact that I can go to public education of which I'm funded, done. The fact that there are no longer areas of public accommodations that are white only, colored only, done. See, I can't make you respect me, but I will definitely make sure that those obstacles you put in the way, because see, I can't legislate respect, nor do I want to. But your artificial barriers, Fannie Lou Hamer, all them ass whooping she took, that $2 that my mother and so many others paid for a poll tax to vote, the respect is I now get to vote and I ain't got to pay $2. The respect is I ain't got these literacy tests and grandfather clauses. See, I can't legislate respect, but I most certainly can get rid of your artificial barriers. So that's my take on that.
Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody.
Like it or
Absolutely,
not.
Brother Matt.
Like it or not, fam.
Like it or not.
I don't want your respect, America. Like it or not. But I'm going to tell you what, America. The days of you putting your artificial barriers in front of us and they go unchallenged, like it or not, we coming. That shit ain't
That's
happening.
right.
Listen. Let me tell you something. Listen, everybody in the country gonna be saying like it or not by the time Dr. Mac is done with y'all. Because like it or not, we don't need y'all respect, but y'all gonna stop blocking us. Y'all gonna stop jamming us up. I love it. Let's do this.
And
Let's do this real quick.
I
Go
love
ahead,
that.
Jay.
That was dope. That was you absolutely right. You're right. Regardless if you respect this or not, these damn laws and all this other stuff, you think you ain't about to come up with some kind of force and think that's just gonna go through? Oh hell no!
Gangsta, DJ, go gangsta.
Oh no.
Hey, okay, so listen, Jay. I'm gonna make a special request of one of my two new favorite songs. I'm not gonna tell you which one. You just pick which one of my two new favorite songs. Let's play that song. When we come back, Rebecca Azor is gonna come and we're gonna chop it up with her about Haiti. She's gonna give us all the updates, what's going on with Haiti, because I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm processing this in Haiti. It's a death of another black man. It's registering in my head the exact same way, and I think that we need to have an international outlook on our blackness. And so, James, give us a quick break. When we come back, Rebecca Azor is joining us. Like it or not, we'll be right back after this.
Good morning again, everyone. If I missed you in your shout out, I apologize. So we're gonna get shout out this morning. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in and streaming from Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are streaming from. Make sure that you hit that like button, y'all. I know y'all may hear some popping in the music, but it's just loading and my system's moving slow. That's all it is, y'all. So anywho, y'all make sure that you stay tuned. Tyler, good morning. Susan, good morning to you. Brother Roadrunner, what's going on, sir? Goku, good morning. Patricia, Fair Not Pig, Lisa Noel, good morning. Melanie, good morning. Laura Estrada, good morning, ma'am. I need to cool me down. Hey. Hey. Michael 147, good morning. Brother Chuck Diesel, what's going on, brother? Luke Kane wins. Nat A, thank you for that history lesson. Let's meet the vocals real quick. Nat A, on this day in history, in 1868, South Carolina became the 27th state to ratify the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which secured citizenship for blacks. And that's from Dr. Max Wood. Dr. Max, we thank you, brother. Of course, that you can go to OK Google and say what happened this day in black history, and it will read you that. So make sure that y'all read and get that, man. When I tell y'all that fits so well with that music, didn't it? Oh my gosh. Keegan McCaffrey, good morning. Lindsay, good morning to you. I see that we're definitely going to have to go visit Minnesota. We have a lot of viewers and watchers from Minnesota, man, and I appreciate that. So definitely we have to come visit y'all. Justice Draconis, if y'all don't know, look him up on Facebook or Instagram. Does a fire show as well. Man, he does some amazing stuff. So make sure y'all check him out, okay? This way you get the stank face. Did you kill him with the church organ? Come on now. Whoa! Jesus! Don't worry, I keep going.
I wake up on Sunday morning, feel the inside my heart. I can't hold on any longer, 'cause
Tiger, thank you for your super chat. I am not certain. He says, hey, Bubba, are y'all going to be able to get to the story of the black kids that got chased by a woman with the knife in Fort Worth? I'm not certain if we'll get to. We had a lot of Haiti coverage with so much stuff going on in Haiti right now. My gosh. Like, honestly, it feels like I'm watching an episode of Scandal because it's just mind blowing. I can't wait to talk about it. Cannot wait to talk about it. All right. Hello. Dwayne is a bully. Look, good morning, Mama. I love you, Mama. Hey, good morning, Mama and Dad. That's not all light-skinned people. Are they trying to be bullies?
Wait. Dwayne is not light-skinned.
Wait. Dr. Mac there too. I forgot. Hey, Brother Mac, how you doing? You know?
wait. Pull back on the
Damn, goddamn plight of the light skin, man. Let me stop.
I can't wait till we all get together. I ain't lying to you. We gonna have that, bro. We gonna have that.
The only thing is, like, we might take just a little bit of the bass out of our voice because we know we're gonna be looking up at Joe 6'9". What are you, 6'7", 6'9", something tall.
Right. Maya gonna be like, hey, Dr. Man.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk. We're not gonna joke too much about our the disparity in our melanin. We're not gonna say that in person. We're not gonna say it in person. That's stuff you say on the internet. You don't say everything on the internet.
No, we say everything on this internet, like it or not.
Like it or not. That damn light-skinned bullies got there.
All my life. We're not going to say what we need to say. Then we need to change the name of the show. We'll say what we need to say. No, this is like it or not.
Right.
Oh my goodness! There's nothing that brings the black community together than a couple of colorism jokes. I tell you, nothing. Oh my!
Black men just get together chopping it up. But DJ, let me say this too. Let me make this final point about America liking us. America does like you. She does. The ones that she likes are the ones whose backs are still bent. As long as your back's straight, see. She ain't gonna like you, but then understand this though. You could take somebody that you just despise. Let's take sports for instance. You could take somebody that you play a certain sport with, and you can't stand them, but they give you all they got every time, and you know you're in a battle. You might not like them, but you're gonna respect them because you're gonna respect the game. So that's what we say. Don't hate the player, hate the game. See, that's what America does. See. Trust and believe, America didn't like Ali. He was the most hated man in the world, right? But America respects Ali. They don't like Colin Kaepernick, but America respects Kaepernick. They didn't like Thurgood. You can go through all of our ancestors. They did not like Fannie Lou. They didn't want Fannie Lou speaking before Congress when she talked about them beatings, but they respect the sister. So that's how you get the respect, by getting in that game, ferociously getting in that game. And our ancestors have given us the playbook on how to be ferocious, how to be courageous. As Sister Fort said, and I love you, Sister Fort, for that being that bounce back people that we are.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I like. Brother Mac told me on a call. He said, "Ben, you got to make sure every time y'all make a statement and y'all make a profound point, you got to follow it up with like it or not." And so he said he's leading by example. Like it or not. I love it.
Unapologetically, baby boy. Like it or not.
I love this guy. I love.
Man, we're not here to parrot conversation that America's comfortable with. We're here to give you our perspective about it. And the day
so
you don't want to hear it, tune out. But if you want to tune in, you're going to listen, learn, like it or not. This here is cod liver oil and castor oil. You don't like it.
No, not honestly now. And you guys just buzz me when we're ready to fly. Honestly now, this ain't really castor oil. this is castor oil mixed in some Coca-Cola. Put us back on the 3 shot. I don't want to see me by myself. This is castor oil. This is castor oil with a little Coca-Cola. This is how my mama used to give us castor oil back in the day to give us the medicine.
Brother Matt, both of us looking like what?
Y'all never had castor oil.
Bougie family. Shit.
Y'all never had. Wait a minute. Now y'all don't get too brand new on me now. I know we like to play like who was the poorest growing up. We like to play that game from time to time, but you know,
we had castor oil too.
Yeah, like I had castor.
Stop complaining about stuff.
When I say Coca-Cola, but you do know I'm talking about whatever brand soda they had in the refrigerator at that time. Let's just be clear.
Like mix no soda with no castor oil and cod liver oil. You took that medicine pure. What's wrong with you?
Right, straight, bro.
Hey, guys, that's y'all fault. Y'all didn't know no better. You mix.
We ain't had nothing to mix with it. Except some Kool-Aid.
Man, if you gotta mix it with some now, don't mix it with Kool-Aid because the gag reflex on that one just kind of triggered me. Do not mix. I'm telling you, if you gotta give cash. Listen, I've been a grown man and I've had to take castor oil just because it's just what you got to do. You think I'm gonna sit there and try to prove a point that I'm a man's man, that I'm taking straight? I'm mixing that thing with some Coca-Cola, real Coca-Cola this time, not the check soda.
You talking about what you would do. I'm telling you what my mama did. My mama said, open up, here's that cod liver oil. And the only thing that you had to deal with between good was the castor oil better than the cod liver oil. One of the two. But you took it pure, man.
Have y'all had black seed oil? My brother-in-law, my wife's brother told me to take some black seed oil, and I think that's what's wrong with my voice now to this day. James, how Mama Gwen? We was talking about mamas and stuff. How Mama Gwen? We haven't had her on. We need to get her on the show one of these days. How's she doing? Let's change the subject since y'all try to.
Oh my gosh!
Run up the score. Try to run up the scoreboard on my account.
Right. Yeah, she's doing good. She thought she's still watching all the time, you know, and she asked all the time. I said, Mom, you're going to be coming on the show eventually soon. So you just need to watch out. Okay.
Nah, Mama Gwen is like, when we had our patron party about 2 months ago, Mama Gwen came on and she was talking about, like, we were talking about grits and recipes for grits. And we were going to have a grit off, me and James. I'm going to cook my grits my way. James going to cook his grits his way. And I'm going to let his mama decide because I think my grits are so good that his mama going to like mine better than his. So
I need y'all to understand. Don't start bringing in that subject because my mama has already confirmed, first of all, nobody cooks better than my mama, right? That's number one. But number two, my mama done got to an age where she told me, no, baby, the days of me cooking and bringing your plate and fixing your plate, them days over. Now it's your time to cook for me. And I need you to know, my mama came up here to Maryland and I cooked her some of my grits and she looked at me and said, baby, you just confirmed I ain't cooking no more because your grits are the best. Understand?
Okay.
I'm in the grit cook-off. In the grit cook-off.
Okay. Now we're going to see. We got three. We got a trifecta grid off. We're going to do that. And we might even tie it to a patronage, patreon.com/like it or not. We'll figure that out. Listen, we are ready. We're ready to go with, and it is a shift in tone, but it's life. We have to deal with what our brothers and sisters are going through in Haiti. And so we're going to take one more quick break. When we come back, we're going to come back with Rebecca Azor, and she's going to give us an update on all. There have been so many updates with regard to Haiti that you definitely do not want to move away from your screen. We'll be right back after this.
Good morning, Mama and Daddy. Of course, Mama says she's ready to come on whenever we are. All right, Mama, I got you. All right, Kayla, we got you. Since she's your judge, I got you. I tell y'all, man, my shrimp and grits, they're like y'all wouldn't believe. I tell y'all. Luke Kane, grits. Those 8 scrambled eggs. Good morning, Miss Barbara. Good morning.
Look, I'm in line with the stars, I'm in sync with the earth. 10 toes deep, flower child from the turf. I never
Melanie didn't say I like my grits either way, with sugar or with salt and butter. Okay, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I tried grits with sugar,
then I come alive,
and I wasn't disappointed.
In the middle of the time of my life.
Don't fight me. But I'm just something that I never do myself, though. Okay.
We all want the same. We all want a meal in the safe. I want to live like I'm trying to get life.
Alicia, good morning. Good morning, Alicia.
Pass out. Try and get grip.
I always see Nat M is somewhere behind in the chat room. I see all the time. Nat M, good morning, Nat M. I ain't seen you in so long.
I don't need the accolades. I'm in love with the chase. I just want to eat, save a spot at the table. Beats with the sweat, put myself on the map.
I understand, Marlon. Thank you for doing it.
Couple nights at the flat. To be real, could you see me making moves while I'm at? I'm still on the grind.
Jago, good morning.
Burning down sage, keep the
shout out to everybody that's streaming from Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're streaming from, y'all. We appreciate y'all and we need it. Y'all make sure that you subscribe to our Instagrams and Facebook at Like It or Not Show, y'all.
Start to feel like I'm on one. Settle in, I'll be here for the long run. I'm a slave for the cash, got snakes in the grass, no brakes on the ad, but it's all fun. We done seen it all, heard it all. Heard enough, give me space before I murder y'all. 10 bad here, I'ma curb them all. 12 missed calls, and I still made a curtain call. Get light it up, lighten up. Hear them talking, they ain't right enough, tighten up. Everything that I came for.
Oh my gosh. Laura, you're terrible. And Chuck D said, I want your good. That didn't sound right. No, humanist, thank you for your super chat. Mix medicine with something. I did never, but now I consider for the future for my kid. Either way depends. Danielle, I will. I need to make sure I get over there so I can check that out. Okay. 30. Laura Estrada said, this is the show of truth, like it or not. I appreciate that, Laura. Magdalene Moon, I appreciate you. All right, y'all, welcome back to the screen. Ben, Rebecca, Dr. Mac, and Dr. Allen, y'all. Welcome back, y'all.
Okay.
There we go. Are we back on? There we go. Hey, we're back. Thank you, DJ Exclusive. I want to introduce, obviously, everybody. Rebecca Azor. Hey, sis. Thank you so much.
Hey, what's
like
up?
It or not,
hey, Dr. Carl Mack. Hey, Mr. Pompelis. But go ahead, Ben. Sorry. I
want to introduce my brother at the bottom right side of your screen, Dr. Alan Pompelis. He is he holds a PhD in international development, and he is also a son of the diaspora, Haitian descent, and a brother who I have spent many hours debating the issues with. Alan, thanks so much. How are you doing, man? Good to see you again.
I'm great, man. I'm great. I'm happy to be on.
Oh, absolutely, man.
I think that's an understatement about the hours that we spent together. I mean, it's insane.
Listen, all the stories about our trip to Costa Rica, which are all, we can tell them all. There's nothing that we can't tell because it was a study abroad, but there's still stuff that we're going to hold for the after party because they need to be on the inside to hear some of it.
I need to know too. What was happening in Costa Rica?
Costa Rica. Listen, y'all know I am a germaphobe and everything. So I thought I had called a brain eating amoeba.
Yeah.
Psycho. He'll literally think that into himself.
Oh, literally, brain-eating amoeba, scorpions. I mean,
scorpions in your bed, scorpions in this man's bed. But here's the thing: all of the side, and I know we got to go to Haiti, but I just want y'all to know like how much I trust this brother's insight on this because when we talk and we debate at the highest level of like international geopolitics. That's what we were trained to do. That's what you're professionally trained to do. I do just want to say this to the brain-eating amoeba thing. The thing was. You were in the same hot springs that I was in, and you started developing the symptoms of the brain-eating amoeba, and you were so sick that trip back. I was like, oh, God, I'm next. Oh, God, I'm next. So I'm glad to say we both made it out of Costa Rica safe and sound.
I don't know about you, Rebecca, but Costa Rica ain't on my bucket list now.
It's not. No, it's off. It's definitely off. I'm not going to Costa Rica.
No.
Because Ben will literally scare you out of doing anything and be like, oh, you going out there? Be careful because, last time I heard that something and XYZ had died. And that was all because they walked into the street. So it is like, oh, I'm not going out there anymore.
You can't let the water go up your nostrils in some of these areas because anyway, I digress. There are far more important things to discuss than what's going on in my brain. But Dr. Pompoulos, thanks so much for joining us. Rebecca, I know you have all the updates. So honestly, I just wanted to introduce Dr. Pompoulos, and Brother Mac and I, we're going to be in the background because we need to flesh this conversation out. I turn it over to you.
For sure. So Dr. Pompoulos. Definitely great meeting you. I know that Ben put us together, and our Haitian behinds were like, yo, what school you went to? You from Palm Beach? I'm from Palm Beach, trying to figure out if we had, family that knew each other or something. And then I told you, does anybody know Azar? And you were like, my parents said that they know somebody, but not in particular, because that's Haitians. They always say that they know somebody, but you don't really know the person. It was such a general, I know that name.
Oh, I know. Yeah, exactly.
But there's been a lot going on in the news. And again, I know you were just speaking with Ben briefly about your background. But before we get into the conversation of Haiti, let people know why you're an expert on this conversation as far when it comes to Haitian issues or politics or anything surrounding the Haitian diaspora.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been working in the nonprofit arena for some years now. My family owns a nonprofit foundation that we've been working in. We have a school in Haiti. And my initial introduction into the academic world of international politics, developmental economics, things of that nature came because I was at a conference in Washington, D.C., where all the big organizations, the United Nations, some of the IGOs were saying that they were having trouble fielding experts in international development projects. They said that they were having trouble finding the cultural sensitivity, the language fluency, and the business acumen to help with their international development projects. So I set upon a journey to, be the expert in the field. And I started to attend the University of Southern Mississippi in the International Development Program. It took me a while, but I recently obtained and earned my degree this last fall. So I have a concentration in developmental economics with a minor in social cultural studies. And my dissertation was specifically about the Haitian diaspora and the perceptions and attitudes of them being integrated as development actors in international projects, Haitian development projects.
And that's big, for you to reach back and make sure your studies are touching, your culture and what you believe in and who you are. That's really good because a lot of people might, when we get in and we sometimes forget and we'll focus on things that are, we'll kind of leave behind our culture just so that we can make it. But you definitely reached behind. And congratulations to you on that and keeping Haiti in the mix. So in recent news, it says Haiti police say that 26 Colombians, 2 U.S. Haitians took part of the Jovenel Moïse assassination. And they have captured, I believe, 15 out of the 26. So it was 28 in total. So there's so much going on. I know that the leaders in Colombia have actually spoken on it and confirmed that those who were captured were actually military. Former military men is included into the mix. So all of this news is coming out as we're unfolding, because this just happened just a few days ago. So much news has been coming out, so much misinformation, so much clarifying, just so much has been coming out as a result of what the leadership may look like in Haiti. Yesterday, we had a journalist from the Haitian Times, Vania Andre on the show, excuse me. And she was breaking down the whole system for the diaspora as well, and what it would look like in Haiti. I know you said that was something that's the focus that you had in your dissertation. So right now, with all that's going on in Haiti, what do you think that this, and it's the same question that I asked Vania. So what do you think that this is going to look like for the diaspora in Haiti as it's unfolding? And as we know, the broken system that's not being utilized, but people are trying to bring up right now as far as when it comes to Haitians?
Yeah, first of all, let me say that the story that's developing now is critical. I mean, I think right now, governments across the world are trying to figure out if this was a state actor or a non-state actor that committed or funded or motivated this event. And this has international repercussions. I mean, wars have been started for less. And if there's a state-sponsored, that this was a state-sponsored assassination or attack, it could. I mean, it's critical. It could be. It's a big deal. Yeah. But when it comes to the diaspora, one thing that has come up in my research is that the diaspora consider themselves Haitians as well. We are probably one of the most connected. We are probably one of the most connected groups of people when it comes to understanding Haiti, wanting to be a part of Haiti. So when we see these types of tragedies occur, we hurt as well. My research has shown that 73% of the Haitian diaspora consider themselves strongly connected or moderately connected to Haiti. We've been trying to be a part of international development initiatives for a while. And there have been some progress in that space in the arena. My research has shown that the United States have acknowledged that the diaspora are integral actors in international development, and so we can be effective. We can be effective. We can be effective in terms of remittances. We can be in terms of training and development. We can be effective in many ways. And what this type of action does, all what my research has also shown, is that it sort of scares away the diaspora. Those that one of the top 5 reasons indicated in my research that the diaspora has not engaged in Haiti development initiatives is the lack of security. And so what this does is say that insecurity can reach the highest levels of the state. If the head of state can be assassinated, what do the diaspora and other business leaders? They fear that. And so, I think it reverberates across the world, and especially within the Haitian diaspora community.
Yeah. And just for clarity for everybody who's watching who doesn't know what the diaspora is, it's the dispersion of people from their homeland. So we're a product of those, our parents being immigrants coming to another place. So we're a product of that. And so and a lot of us, just like we see a lot of Hispanic kids in South Florida who are raised in their household to speak that particular language, it's the same thing with us. And you said something very, very to me, very poignant. And that was how close we are, even outside of being being in Haiti, how close we are to Haiti, how we're raised that way, how even in South Florida, how all of our culture, everything around us is pretty much Haitian. We go to a Haitian church. If we're in South Florida, we're surrounded by Haitian kids. Sometimes we are. Sometimes. Was that the Grammys music telling me to wrap it up? No. Sometimes we become the interpreters for our parents, for kids that come to certain schools. All of this happens. So I was speaking to my father yesterday, and he told me specifically, it's so sad. I had the text message, and he's just like, "Thank you for keeping me up on what's going on, but I can't shake it. Mentally, I'm not there. Mentally, I can't process what's going on. I'm hurt." He said that he can't even function at work in this particular moment, just knowing what happened. And I think it's just the how easy and how accessible it was to get to the president of Haiti and to just assassinate him that easily. The motive, I think, right now is what's being questioned as they captured 15 of them. I think 8 are still on the run. 3 were killed. So all of this is still developing. I know we were discussing yesterday, and you said you wanted to cover this point, and that's a long-term of this assassination to the international and business community, and how it can further hinder the economic progress, especially for Haiti. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that has happened with Jovenel is that, like him or not, there was a lot of enemies or resistance and protests that surrounded his administration. If you take a step back and just trying to uncover or dissect the source of frustration from the Haitian people, you have the Haitian earthquake of 2010, which devastated lives, it devastated infrastructure, and it really leveled any progress that was made since the embargo. So, the international community surrounded Haiti after the Haitian earthquake. We had roughly $12 billion of international aid that was committed. $6 billion has been dispersed. And we had Jovenel come into power, and what he promised and what he was trying to do was reform Haiti and restructure Haiti. But I think the Haitian people didn't see the progress. They didn't see what all the international aid commitment that was promised to us. They didn't see all the roads and the infrastructure that was supposed to be rebuilt, and not to mention the corruption from Petrocaribe, which was an international scandal, and corruption that happened. So the frustration from the Haitian people was real. The frustration from the Haitian people was valid. And that's some of the things that happen. But again, going back to the repercussions or sort of the effects of this assassination can happen, is that it sends a tacit level signal to international community and business community. I've started to read in some of the newspapers that some people are already saying that, well, if they can assassinate the president, they can definitely assassinate me as a business person. And that's sad. That's sad to hear, because I think the narrative that we're trying, the Haitian diaspora, people like us, are trying to talk about Haiti is that Haiti's not just this void of poverty. Haiti's not just this place of violence, that's being, communicated in the media, but it's also a place of beauty. It's also a place of resilience. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to Haiti that people undercut, I will say. So, but this assassination is a big deal. I mean,
it's a huge deal.
Exactly. If the head of state can be assassinated in this manner, it just sends the wrong message to people, potential investors, potential international assistance. It sends the wrong message to people like us in the diaspora.
Yeah, and just to add before we, add Dr. Carl Mack and Ben to the conversation, just wanted to add that after 11 suspects who were included into this were arrested after breaking into the embassy of Taiwan in Port-au-Prince, which sits near the residence where Moise was killed. A statement from Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said. So even back in Taiwan, 11 suspects literally are part of the situation that's happening. So this is all over the place. So they're wondering, and they're wondering why, what the motive is. We already see that they assassinated the president, but there's so many other questions that arise from this. Just simply why Colombians, right? And why people on the outside, and then 2 Haitian Americans who were involved. So those are what I'm waiting for to hear about. And the confirmation from the Colombian leaders that they indeed were the ones who planned this assassination and went through with it. So it's just so much information coming out. So I just wanted to update you guys on that. But Ben and Dr. Carl Mack, I want to invite you guys to the conversation with what's going on. And I know that you guys watching, I know that it's been like as shocked as we are. I'm pretty sure that you guys are feeling the same kind of shock with what's been happening with the assassination of Jovenel Moise.
Yeah. Elaine, I'm listening to all the stuff that you're saying, and I think the thing that kind of jars me the most is that fact that the signal that this sends, that you're not secure. You don't have security there in Haiti, because if they can get to the president, and Rebecca, you were making this point yesterday, if they can get to the president, like, why is it so easy to get to the president? What type of, who benefits from that narrative? Because as we try to figure out, like, as we try to figure out the motives and why the president was assassinated and by whom, because you don't assassinate the president on a whim. There are forces involved here. My question is who benefits from his assassination, and who benefits from that narrative of fear that now exists because of the assassination?
I've been trying to understand that myself, and I don't think anyone benefits. I think when you have, it's even a coup. Let me just say, even a coup where a head of state can be escorted out of a country is better than this. Loss of life is devastating to anyone, but when you have the head of state being assassinated like that, I think no one wins. I think even the opposite, if the motivation or anyone that created this is from the opposition loses. If it's a state actor from another country, they lose, because now you have the international community coming down on them. If it's gangs that motivated it or sort of funded this action, then they lose, because you're going to have the international community come down on them. I can't see anyone that benefits in long term from having an event occur like this. So, but that's the question. I think that's what everyone's going to rally around. I think there's going to be intense resources dedicated to intelligence and trying to find out who, why, what, when, and justice and that investigation needs to be fully thought out.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? Sorry, Ben. What's interesting in this whole thing? It's like, who benefits? We don't know, right? Because we know from a lot of the things that have been happening in the country that the people have been fighting for, fighting for their rights, fighting for new leadership, fighting for better communities that they have locally, or fighting for better cities, fighting for respect of the people. There's been so much, and fighting for safety. But it's interesting that through this whole thing, it was the people, the same ones that did want Jovenel Moïse to step down, not because they wanted him to be assassinated, but because they wanted better leadership in the community. Many people thinking that his leadership was just him being there, but being run by others. They felt like they needed somebody stronger, but they were the same ones who went out into the community with these videos that I do not want to play on here because they are a little graphic, but they're the ones who went out into the community to go out and look for the assailants. As soon as they got any kind of information, they went out locally and went out and did it themselves. They weren't waiting for anybody else to step in. Wow. It was what they said, the pep that went out, the people that went out and got these assailants, or some of them, and helped push this a little quicker than waiting on it, because they wanted to show basically, hey, we ain't want that man to be assassinated. And if anybody's going to come out of anywhere and mess in our business, we're going to show them how Haitians work. We're going to handle business ourselves. You can't come into our country, cause this terror, and think you're going to get away with it. So they definitely went and found some of these assailants. And
Rebecca, could I because they caught these guys pretty quick. And now, if it had not been for, like you said, the culture of Haiti and the Haitian people stepping up, and I love that point that you said, that the people wanted change. They did not want the assassination. And when they got the information about these assailants, that they were involved in helping get, so now I understand why they were apprehended so quickly, because they're messing with the wrong group of people here.
Yeah, definitely. I think people know that. Historically, people need to understand, okay? Haitians are not, I know that the news will say all of this, and I know that, we are the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. All of this, we know that. We already know how it gets. We know that when anything happens with Haiti, that's going to be the first sentence that they say. They're going to talk about how we've been in the streets protesting against our leadership and all these kind of things. But one thing about it, it's kind of like how we have that relationship been here with HBCUs. Anybody step into the conversation that has no business in it, we're going to be like, hey, back. Anybody who is white who steps into Black business, we're going to be like, it ain't your business. Anybody who's on the outside who steps into Haitian business, we going to handle ours. We're going to handle it. Historically, that's just how it's been. We are allergic to, anything pretty much Caucasian. You see how we handled business historically, and we killed off our oppressors. And, this is just us. So no matter what, we'll come together if need be, because it's just this right here was not what the country needed. This is, and then even the leadership now that's taking place is still a lot of confusion. As Vania said yesterday on the show, there are two systems, and both systems are broken, and they're trying to figure out how to work through that. We have the former PM who is taking place as the active president now, and the PM Ariel that Jovenel Moïse had put into place the day before he was assassinated, who's taking position as PM. But there's two systems that are, we don't know how that's going to work. Are the people going to accept this? What's going to happen for the community now, especially with it being supposedly supposed to be 15 days under siege where they do nothing, right? Yet the active president now, who is saying that the country is free to be open, is free to be functioning now. So there's so many questions. I don't know if that's the right thing. Some people are saying that we shouldn't be speaking on this because it puts the country in more of a position of being targeted for some reason. So I don't know. It's so many questions. It's so many questions for us as Haitians. It's so many questions for us as journalists. It's so many questions for us who are studying this. But every time a piece of the information comes out, it's confusion. Like, why was he targeted by Colombians?
And Sister Zora, thank you. And Dr. Pompolis, thank you as well. Because, from my perspective, this is all helping to eradicate my ignorance about what happened in Haiti and what is happening. And so the closest I can get to trying to piece this all together, and Sister Azor, for you to answer the question about diaspora, because I was asking that question. So it sounds like there's two groups inside of Haiti, and there's some tension between the two. And so that harkened me back to what happened in Liberia. Now, obviously, we haven't gotten to the point where there was an absolute civil war. And for those who are not familiar with Liberia, you had the natives of Liberia and then those who were brought to Liberia from America, right? And so those two groups have been at each other for a while. And ultimately a coup occurred, and you saw that happen. And so in trying to understand this, and when you talked about the devastation that happened in Haiti, the amount of money that came, folks didn't feel like progress was happening fast enough. So was that feeling amongst all Haitians, or was it amongst these two groups? And maybe I'm not even explaining it right, of two groups. So that's why it would help me to get some insight on those of the diaspora, those who are, and forgive me, native Haitians. I don't know. So help flesh that out for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in my research and what I found for the $6 billion of disbursements that were made for international aid, 90, I think upwards of 90 to 95% of that went to for-profit contractors and IGOs. So it doesn't go directly to the Haitian people. You essentially purchase the expertise, the equipment, but when it comes to incorporating the Haitian people, that is far in between in most international development programs. I specifically asked this question to I would say development elites within my research, within my dissertation, and then very few of them actually incorporated the Haitian people in their programs, right? They assist them, they're the beneficiaries of them, but those who are running the programs are not Haitian. So when it comes to the perception of progress from the diaspora, I don't think it was there. However, when I visited, I did see some progress. I did see, the renovation of the Haitian airport. I did see this slow trickle down effect that occurred. But the issue with Haiti is that progress is always marginal. Progress is always minimal. And we're looking for big change, especially when you have that type of international aid commitment.
Yeah.
So again, going back to the Liberia example, is that a proper way to frame it, where you have two groups inside of the country who are opposed to what some see as progress and some that see progress isn't happening enough? Or is it all Haitians that are saying this progress ain't happening enough? What happened to all this money that came in? And this kind of tension maybe led to this.
So Ben, 1 second, right? So especially with how Haiti is, right? If you ask majority of the people there, because majority of the people there live in poverty, it's going to be majority of the people that feel this particular way because of the state of Haiti. It's not like we have one particular portion of it, like, 50% of it is thriving and living, and 50% of it is no. Most people share the same experiences in Haiti, and even if you have family members who are working in in this position or whatever, most of the families are like, when I go home, I have a cousin who's a lawyer that has to travel miles and miles and miles to go back to a small little home. Like it's everybody doesn't, most of the people are living in poverty there. So they're all going to say the same thing when it comes to that. Some of them, now the political views may be different for each person. Some of them don't really care about politics because they're caring about feeding their kids. Like this is kind of like what the state of Haiti has been. If you go into a certain area, I remember going as a kid, it used to be super different. Going as a grown woman recently and seeing kids out there who were left behind after the earthquake, who just sleep out there, and who just live out there and wait for people to feed them or whatever the case may be. It's been a lot of changes, and there has been money that has come in and not been utilized to rebuild Haiti. We know that from after the hurricane, all that money that was raised, what has been done to rebuild Haiti? Not a thing. Okay, so it's like, it's not only that, it's the drama that or the politics that were behind Petro-Caribe and the money, like the missing money there. People are saying right now, since the assassination of Jovenel Moïse, saying follow the money. So there's a lot of things that are behind it. But I will say, as a country, as people, that's why a lot of our parents are immigrants and they've moved to other countries for better lives, is because of the poverty there, the way that they thought that they would never be able to get out of that type of living. So, most of the people there are probably sharing the same thoughts when it comes to that, whether we're in Haiti or outside of Haiti. Because even being outside of Haiti, we still are, most of our families are responsible for taking care of those that are left behind or that are still in Haiti. You know what I mean? So it's a lot. It's a lot from the inside and it's a lot from the outside. So
Dr. Papadopoulos, try to help me to understand what, and I know that there's a lot of unanswered questions, but Colombia, what could possibly be the tie that you'd have so many Colombians that were part of this tragic assassination?
Yeah, that's a question. I'm telling you, this story, the unraveling of what the actors that are involved, it's concerning, and I don't know. I can't really say. One thing that I may add a little bit of enlightenment is that we're an African Black nation in a Latin American and Caribbean region, right? So there's a lot of ties of Haiti to Colombia, Venezuela, historically that make it not completely shocking, right? So there's a relationship that exists historically between the nation, but when it comes to Colombian mercenaries, it doesn't add up. I can't necessarily explain that.
It would appear to me that the two brothers of Haitian descent who were involved, it'd be hard for me to believe that they don't know the answer. So that's, if I were running an investigation, believe those would be the two that I'd be pressing on. Like, why would you get involved with this? If it was all Colombians, unanswered questions. But given that you got two Haitian brothers, trust and believe, it is hard pressed for me to believe that they don't know, behind.
And they're Haitian. and they're actually Haitian Americans. So this is something that, like I said, it's still developing. Like as we go, these are questions that we have. Like why our own? Why were they partnering with them? There are so many things that we can assume, but as this unfolds daily, every time I get off the show after discussing this, something else pops up. You know, all throughout the night we had news developing. We had different press conferences going on from Colombia to Haiti, to South Florida. There were different things happening surrounding this whole story. So that's how we went from, God knows what was it, like 6 assailants or 8 assailants to it being at 28 now. And so, and the embassy in Taiwan, the Haitian embassy in Taiwan being affected and how that's connected to what's going on. So it's so much, I think that we have to piece together because there's so much unanswered questions, but there's so much also being thrown in the mix. While at the same time, many people mourning, Jovenel Moise's assassination, and many people questioning, should the country be reopened right now with the interim PM who is now the acting president, saying that the country is ready to move forward. But, so many people questioning that as well. So as we, I think, go through this weekend, so much more information probably we'll have answers to. But as Haitian people, it's just a lot. It's a lot that we're going through emotionally, and we're being beat down. I feel like it's always something. But one thing about it, my dad did say to me yesterday, he says, we're going to get through this. As hurt as I am, he's like, we're going to get through this because Haitian people don't give up. And that's, like I said, it's historical. We're allergic to slavery. We're allergic to it all. We might be like the poorest, but we get through every single thing. We'll be over there celebrating what needs to be done. Us in the diaspora, it's not only the flags that we represent on January 1st or, on Haitian Flag Day. It's a connection that we have. It's deeper than that. So when Haiti hurts, people who are actually connected to Haiti, it hurts us. We bleed too. So it's our job to represent. And you, Alan, who made sure that you put that in your education, you put that in your profession, Haiti, so that means a lot. It means everything. I'm going to cut it to a break right here. Alan, if you can definitely stay with us so we can further the conversation. That'll be amazing. So, Bubba, let's take it to some music and we'll be right back after this.
Feel it in my body, feel it in my feet, and it feels so good inside. When I hear that music, it gets me on my feet. Makes me wanna dance all night. Don't make me remember everything you did, 'cause I don't wanna hurt inside. Feel it in my body, feel it in my feet, and it feels so good inside. And I always wanna feel like this. I close my eyes and all the troubles fade away. You was once got so deep into me, but tonight I won't let that out. Gonna make myself forget about you, baby. Gonna make my head try me. Tonight I'm gonna dance the pain away. Forget your name. Oh yeah. Feel it in my body, feel it in my feet, and it feels so good inside. Don't need anybody.
Shout out, Nikki. Good morning, Nikki.
I just wanna dance all night. I want to remember everything you did. I'm down with the hurt inside. Feel it in my body, feel it in my feet, and it feels so good inside. And I always wanna feel like this. I close my eyes and all the troubles fade away. You was once got so deep into me, but tonight I won't let that out. know the laughter and the pain. Will I have love again? I don't know if I can take it anymore. So I stay here and hold my heart when you walk out the door. Made a promise to myself and I repeat it in my head. Set your mind free, set your mind free. No one knows what I've been through, but this is the end of me and you. Set your mind free. Made a promise to myself, this time I repeat it. Where there's a will, yeah, there's a way. With every smile, with every tear, I know I will make it. I'm gonna see you brighter day.
Good morning, B. Good morning. Lisa, I got you, Lisa.
Time goes by and yet I wonder, what we put each other through hell? What can we just get over ourselves? I know we should. You cast your spell and now and under. I know the laughter and the pain.
All right, y'all, it's time for it to go back down. Welcome back, y'all.
So no, I was still like had my shoulder, you know. I felt that little music. But I know, well, welcome back to Like It or Not. If you guys are just tuning in, we are covering more of the developments after the Jovenel Moïse assassination, the Haitian president in Haiti a few days ago. I know, Dr. Carl Mack, you were saying that you had to leave, but you were saying something and Ben wanted it to be said on air. So go ahead.
Again, when we talk about the importance of understanding our culture, and Sister Zor, you know, this obviously hits home from you being a Haitian, and Dr. Pompolis, the fact that you would devote your scholarship to helping to remember your culture, to help the rest of the world to understand it, has brought such insight. Because as I'm sitting here and hearing the breaking news that occurred earlier, you know, I did not have the level of insight that both you and Sister Azor have brought to us. So again, that's just all the more reason for us as a people to embrace our culture, understand our culture, because if we don't, we'll allow somebody else to tell that narrative. And that narrative is always, in most cases, going to put us in a far more negative light through a policy of omission, through their narratives. And I just applaud the two of you for helping this brother to understand a little bit more intelligently what's going on in the country. And to all of our Haitian brothers and sisters, we all grieve with you in such a tragedy. And again, thank the two of you for bringing such scholarship and insight into this matter.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being open to the conversation. And thank you for trusting us and having this conversation and educating you. And I'm, you know, not only am I clarifying situations, but I'm being educated with people like Vania from the Haitian Times, who was on the show yesterday, and people like Mr. Alan Pompolis here today. So it's like we have experts, like we said yesterday, we have experts in our own community who can have this conversation, who can help us put the pieces together and understand a little bit more about Haitian people, about politics in Haiti, about different numbers and how that looks in Haiti, about the diaspora. So it's a good thing, and I'm happy that you guys are open to understanding, so that we can have a positive and effective dialogue about the situation.
But you know, and again, the thing about it is to hear it from our people, and not the other narrative that so many people want to believe. You know, if you take the approach that some people's ice is colder than ours, in this case, our ice is just as cold. America, like it or not.
I love it. I love it.
Every time.
Dr. Mack, I know you got to jump.
Never leave. He got to make sure he drops that mic. I live for it every single time. I love it.
Dr. Mack, hey, we'll be here. I know you got some stuff to do, man. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Always a pleasure, fam. And again, thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Whoo.
You ain't see, look, let me show you. He was like this. Whether you like it or not? I loved it because it was giving side view today, and he was giving me turtleneck power. He was giving me white. His teeth are always white, and his hair was particularly nice and laid. It was just every time I see that man, it's just like he's so put together, and then his voice on top of it.
It's like James Earl Jones meets Bernie Mac, man. Because
it's so good. It's brilliant.
I knew I had to get Brother Mac in on this when he was quoting Frederick Douglass. And in the middle of quoting Frederick Douglass, he dropped mother MFer better than Bernie Mac. So how do you go from, he said, power concedes nothing and it never mother will. I mean, I'm like, Dr. Mac, he is brilliant and he's funny as hell, especially when we take the filter off. We have to have a Dr. Mac, Bruh Mac Unfiltered episode. And I promise you, y'all gonna laugh until you cry. It's amazing. So Pompous, Alain, man, thank you for being Johnny on the spot, because I knew you would be able to bring some scholarship to this conversation. So thank you for being available to come on and jump on with us to discuss this.
Dr. Pompous, for me, I have a quick question. I know you say you know Ben and you guys were out in the trenches together, the trenches in Costa Rica. But I do see that you represent Alpha Phi Alpha. Did you graduate from an HBCU?
I did not.
Oh, Ben, I don't care what you have to say anymore. Everything else after this is trash. You didn't go to an HBCU?
Look. I represent the Xi Order chapter at the University of Central Florida, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that my wife, my beautiful wife, Mary Pompous, or Mary Jordan as her maiden name, went to FAMU. So we have that fight.
Where you were going.
Yeah. We got
only the best graduate from Florida A&M University. And to all my exes that are watching right now, you slipped up and you missed out on putting a ring on this Rattler. There are other people who will, and it's going to be a great thing because Florida A&M women, because Benjamin Dixon happens to be married as well to a Rattler woman. And it's just something about a Rattler woman who, many men that come from other raggedy
hell Wildcats.
And many men who come from PWIs such as yourself, they have to reach out and touch a Rattler's hand, and the uplifting that happens after that.
Touch.
You sound like my wife in some of the conversations we've had in house. PWI versus HBCU. I have to admit, I've been awakened. Because our culture wasn't privy to that. We had my parents really enforced a strong education. To progress, you need to attain a strong education to do well and things like that. And my parents poured a lot into me, but we had to navigate for ourselves. My parents came over in the 1980s, and I had to figure out my college application. I had to research these schools because they just weren't in that space. They eventually earned their degrees. My dad has a master's. My mom is a registered nurse and has been for a while. But I didn't know about the FAMs, the Howards, the illustrious HBCUs. But
you didn't know about all this culture we had in the Black community before you ran. You and that sister from Costa Rica, the indigenous sister from Costa Rica, who was like, Black people don't have no culture.
Oh, I was like, Ben can't wait to say this. Go ahead, Ben.
That sister in Costa Rica, Afro Costa Rican, love her. She was great. We argued that.
Afro Latina.
That was the night. No.
Oh, we argued that for hours.
Bro, we did. We argued until the morning. We brought that conversation back. It was a speaker that was introduced to our program to have conversation about Costa Rican culture. She made that comment. I understood where she was coming from. Ben didn't. And then we took that conversation back to the hotel, and Ben and I debated from probably maybe 10 at night to like 6 in the morning, like just talking.
Till that scorpion showed up in your bed.
Yeah.
Listen, me and him have had similar conversations as well. So, but and like I said, it's for us to be open to the conversation and learn from each other in this instance. I know as us being raised as Haitian Americans, we had to, like, code switching is real. When we went to school, it was different, because then some people would think you're Black American, you knew how to be in that crew, but then you had to separate yourself when they're calling you out. Hey, your mom and your daddy Haitian, right. You ain't one of us, da, 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 da. So it wasn't that we wanted to be separate. It's because they literally, we came here, even Black folks that look just like us told us that we were separate. Right. And so it's kind of like something that we grew up with. Now, I do get that for Black Americans, it's offensive. Growing up at first, I didn't think it was offensive, but having that conversation with Ben, who ate me alive, my God, literally, I understand how it can be offensive, because, if I do look at it, that you guys do have a culture, Black Americans do have a culture here in America. I mean, we see who's biting off of a lot of the culture here in America. So, Black Americans do have their own culture, but when we say things like that, it's like, I don't know. I don't want to have this conversation right now, but I do understand it from both sides of the spectrum. But I don't want to. We don't.
You know what? Because today is about Haiti. Like, today's about Haiti.
I'm not opening that. I'm not sure.
Let me just say this. There's a science behind that. There's a reason why we think and talk like that, and that's essentially some of the research that I've done. When you grow up in a multicultural household, you have a different lens, you have a different framework in how you think about things. One thing that I've learned in my studies is that culture is essentially the definition that we learn in our program, is that it's the collective programming of the mind. So when you grow up in that dual household, dual culture, when you have to leave the house and enter into America and the world, America sees you as Black America, you have to adapt to that and you embody that. Then you go back home and you come into Haitian households where, certain things don't fly, and, we have our own culture, we have our own language. You grow up and you assimilate and adopt that. So there's a science behind that. We can chop that up and have a conversation.
No, we ain't chopping it up today.
But that's the aspect, Rebecca. The aspect that we talked about off air was, and Dr. Mack was alluding to that. He was talking about, trying to get some clarity on the diaspora, and what I think is so beautiful about Blackness is that we have a collective diaspora, that we're all from, we're all descendants of Africa. But then we have our smaller diasporas. Like, there's the Haitian diaspora, those of you who are of the African diaspora, obviously, but now you are also the diaspora of the island of Haiti. And so that's that community that you're talking about, Alan, and we have it too as Black people. Like, it's so similar, like how we have the code switching that Black people have to do across the globe. It's tiring. And I think it's time for us to have a globe where we ain't got a code switch. That's the bottom line.
And it's like we want to say, because I remember when we identified the code switching, right? And we were like, it's a gift. It's great. We were going through that phase of it's creative. It's innovative. It gets the people going, right? We don't know if you're going to be right. I mean, you don't know if I'm going to be right here with it, right? You don't know if I'm going to be city girls. You don't know if si ma parle en notre langue. You don't know if I'm going to be right here with it in very, what people call very smart speaking. She's well spoken. You don't know, because all of that is all me. But I want people to understand that if I give it to you in the span of 60 seconds, that's all me, right? It's all me because I come from all of those different things. It makes me who I am. So I don't like being for 8 hours in a corporate office and I can't say slang or I can't utilize some particular type of words because it's going to be offensive to my coworkers who happen to be white. Or if I'm in, like, now that I'm wearing braids, when I was coming up in journalism as a young journo, I used to wear my hair very, very straight with long, straight hair and curl it. If you look at some of these journalists now, they'll wear certain dresses. That's what I used to be looking like. And I was told I can't do my nails the way that I do them now because it's going to take away. I was even told because I'm dark skinned and I'm a product of immigrants, I'm going to have to work a little harder when it comes to being in the journalism business. So, I'm tired of the code switching. I know that we looked at it as a gift at a point in time. We were able to switch up, get into this area, get into that area. It was innovative creative, it was fun, but I want people to know that we are all of those things that makes up all of us. The Black people are not just one. And that doesn't make us less intelligent because I got braids or because I rock nails that are long. It doesn't make us not qualified because I might have an accent. I know that they treated my mom a lot of times like trash because of her accent. Like you, Alan, my mom is a registered nurse as well. And it took her a long time to get that done because they felt like because she didn't know English, she wasn't qualified, or because not that she didn't know English, because when she finally did learn English, it just was with an accent, and they just said that she just wasn't qualified. I almost had to step up a few times and get a couple people together, with how they were treating my mom in these workspaces. But it's a lot of things that we got to go through. And my mom tried code switching. I'm like, lady, your accent does not allow you to act like you're that American. Lady, no, okay? Be your Haitian self. Be your authentic Haitian self. So, even my dad taught us when we were younger to code switch, because growing up Haitian in the middle of South Florida and going to, at the time, a predominantly white school, in a white neighborhood, my dad literally sat us down before going to school as kids and said, don't go speak Creole at the school. I beg you, just don't do it, because they're going to put you in them Esau classes. And because we would go to school and just be speaking another language. And as soon as these teachers heard you speaking another language, they either used you to go interpret for the other kids. Okay. Now you're a 5-year-old and you're interpreting for other kids. It's crazy. Or they assumed that you didn't speak English, depending on what kind of teacher you had that was ignorant or whatever. 3 of my siblings were placed in Esau because they chose to speak another language in school. They were placed in summer school. One left behind, even though he was he was advancing quick because he spoke another language in school. So my dad had to literally beg us, please do not speak another language in school, because they're gonna think you don't speak English. They're gonna think you don't speak English. So, I mean, it's been tough. I know. Okay. So Bubba, I want to bring you in on the conversation because I see you in all that glowing skin sitting over there.
Charlie, it's just the extra brightness on the filter. That's okay. It's all it is. Because trust me, on my side, it's not that bright.
It's nice. No, it's nice. You're giving me glow here. But I know you growing up in Florida and you being surrounded by Haitians, you're going to BCU. You went to BCU, so you already know. Have you ever had to have those conversations as well, like Ben, where you've had to be in a position where it's like, okay, I know what it's like to be a Black American, but now, having Haitian American friends, seeing the difference in the lifestyles and seeing the code switching there. Have you ever had to put yourself in that situation as well?
Not really. I grew up in Alabama and Georgia, so we were country as hell here.
South.
And when we went to
Florida, that much.
Right. Now, when I went to Florida, that's my first time seeing Haitians. So I was just like, a Haitian? What's that? I'm so lost. What's going on? But they were beautiful Black people, and they spoke weird to me, that little French Creole thing. I'm like, oh, okay. That's kind of cool. But yeah, because I know a lot of them now. Well, know a lot of y'all.
Yeah. I mean, especially in Boston. I didn't realize there was such a huge community in Boston of Haitian Americans. Yeah.
Because Haitians will come off of will come to America and be like Boston, New York. When I say New York, we say Brooklyn because that's where it's at. And when you go to Florida, it's particularly South Florida. You have some people in Central Florida. They don't really live in North Florida for real, unless they've migrated for school or whatever. But those particular areas are where Haitians go and plant themselves.
Which is crazy because Alan, when I met you, I think I was either living in Boston or getting ready to move to Boston. But we connected at University of Southern Mississippi. But then we realized both of us were from like Central and South Florida. We both had ties to South Florida and Central Florida. It's kind of like
what you was doing in Mississippi. You played sports.
Oh, Alan? No, because you know you're talking to me about.
I'm like Alan.
No, it actually was a program that was for working professionals. So in the entire years I was in the program, I maintained a full-time job and support my family and things like that. But this was the one where we had to travel. We had to travel 4 times a semester in there and doing in-person sessions. So that's why I guess we attended that institution.
Yeah. It made
you ain't gonna find Haitians for real in Mississippi for real. Like they're not gonna. That's the first place they're not gonna go unless they're there on scholarship.
Y'all know better. Y'all know when y'all come to America, if you don't go nowhere, stay away from Mississippi. No, and I say that as a person who grew up in Mississippi. But
well, people will literally, you know how people are. It's like we got one person that then came somewhere and was like, "This is the spot to be." Haitians will move to South Florida because it gives them. It's almost like being in the Caribbean, like that kind of like gives them that connection. In Boston, it's because there are a lot of other Haitians in Boston. In Brooklyn, you think Haitians like the cold? No, but because there's a community of Haitians there, they will go and migrate there. So it's like wherever they know Haitians to be, wherever they know they can flourish and kind of assimilate better without being, without it being hard.
Going back to that, like that, there's a science to that. Again, back when I'm saying like the communities that are formed. And why there are communities in Boston and why there are communities in New York. Those are typically people who have immigrated from Haiti. I would say the first wave of immigrants that came to Haiti in the 60s, 70s under Duvalier, tended to congregate around the northern area. The Haitian wave after the ISD, the embargo, you had waves of people, of Haitians, so the so-called boat people were arriving in Florida. And Miami, South Florida is the Latin American North. That's been, it's been characterized as that. So there's a science to that. I'm definitely still connected to my South Florida roots and, love my Haitian people.
Yeah, I mean, it ain't nothing like South Florida. I'm going to just say that, okay? When it comes to Haitians, ain't nothing like South Florida Haitians. I know there's always an online argument about New York Haitians and South Florida Haitians. Listen, and who can dance the best? It's South Florida. We're the closest to the Caribbean. Y'all had to jump a few states up.
Hey, can I just say, just on some like ridiculous side note, one of the best goddamn quesadillas I've ever had in my life was at this hole in the wall Haitian joint.
Quesadillas.
Listen, and I know it's not I know. Listen, I'm just gonna tell you, This is what no. They of course I know quesadillas are like whatever, but this was they feature. It was a hole in the wall in West Palm Beach. I don't remember the name of the club because we had been drinking and we talked. It was 3 a.m. So they had one thing on the menu. Quesadillas, and I see why. And it was just, but the culture in that room, at 3 o'clock in the morning in West Palm Beach, the Haitian vibe that was going on, and it's like the dancing and the music, the live band, the compa. It was life at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the quesadilla had épices, which is our Haitian seasoning that we blend together with herbs.
I don't know what, but it was the best one I ever had in my life.
And peppers. Once you put épices on anything, it changes its life. Okay, this is every Haitian who knows what I'm talking about, Alan, you know what I'm talking about. Épices is just something that your ancestors whisper in your ear with no amount of measuring could actually make it taste like, it's just like you just let the ancestors whisper and you create the épice with mad herbs and peppers.
And what was that fish y'all made? You made one time.
Poisson rose. Which I think is red snapper, which I feel like I just found that out recently that it's red snapper. But
I don't know what it was, but it was good. That's all.
Poisson was, and he was just like,
"Come on,
yeah."
I know you know about the grill too, Ben.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know about griot?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I like because you should, if you had asked me about growing up around Haitians, I grew up around Haitians because I grew up in South Florida, and I remember Haiti Day. I remember how bad y'all used to get treated. We used to treat y'all. So I didn't personally, but it was pretty hard being Haitian in South Florida growing up in the 90s, being in high school because we didn't necessarily treat y'all the best. I put it like that.
Like,
look, that's why.
This is the type of stuff like you were saying, like that's an whole other episode because that was real. That was real.
That's why we have those conversations that we have when we
That's
say.
why y'all don't like us.
This is why we say, listen, our parents used to tell us, listen, stay away from the Black American, because we used to get treated like crap. Our parents got treated like crap. And I think that also, I think it's systemic for them to create the separation amongst Black people. They made us feel like there was, being Black American was always better than being a Black person who was from another country, period. And then if you were a Black person,
we ain't know no better.
And it was weird. And then all the Americans would only say bad things to us in our language. And
the first thing I learned how to do in Creole was cuss. So you're right.
And they would live. They had no respect for our parents. I mean,
oh my God, we were so rude.
Your house stank, and they'd be like, that's just my mom cooking the rice. And then we used to get so mad. We used to like put this shirt underneath when my mom would cook food. We'd put the shirt underneath the door so that we didn't go to school smelling like Haitian food and getting picked on. But
shout out to my neighbor. Shout out to my neighbor in Boynton Beach, who house always smelled like the best Haitian seasonings that you could ever imagine. Just made the entire bottom floor of the entire neighborhood smell like the best Haitian. But you know who held it down? We held it down with each other. Remember the hurricane came and we didn't have power for 2 weeks in South Florida. So shout out to my Haitian neighbors down there because
they was in the backyard creating the makeshift goddamn stoves with my mama legs right open. She over there looking like she in Haiti. Done had rocks.
Oh man, that's
put a
so
pot
funny.
on there. Got it real hot. We was eating good while the next door neighbor was eating the SpaghettiOs at the can. We was surviving, okay? So, but anywho, yes, getting picked on was a lot. It was, and it caused a rift between, growing up between me and Black Americans growing up. But then I also had to code switch. If it wasn't for a Black American, I would have never got introduced to an HBCU. I would have never gotten introduced to that culture. I had to teach my parents, like we were talking about earlier. I had to teach my parents what that was because for the Haitians who don't know HBCUs, the first thing that they said was, oh, no. Again, there's too much Black Americans at this school. And I had to explain to them, hey, this particular school breeds excellent Black Americans and Black people. So I had my parents go to the school. My dad, who's been here since he was 17 years old, he still had that Haitian way of thinking too. But he was affected by being bullied when he got here as well. But when I brought him to the school, it was the leaders at the school who pulled him to the side and gave him like this whole walkthrough at the school, helped him understand history at the school. And he left there feeling really Black and empowered. I loved it because I'm like, now you see that, this HBCU is not only about American culture. It's going to teach me about myself as a Haitian American. It's going to teach me about my culture. And it sure did. It's the blending of Black folks from all over the world there on the highest of 7 hills in Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay, I knew she was going there. I knew and then I was just gearing up to make sure that I gave Bethune-Cookman University, it was college at the time, give them credit because once we hit the shores of Bethune-Cookman, and I'm sure it's the same thing at every HBCU, like you're saying, Rebecca, the way they unified and changed our thinking about Blackness and made it international and taught us about the Haitian Revolution and taught us how you got, that fundamentally changed. We just ain't know no better. We need to get that kind of teaching in high school. I'm tired.
Why didn't they teach us about the Haitian Revolution in high school? I knew about it, but that was not taught to me the way that Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas. And when I got to Florida A&M University, the first class that I took, and I will always remember, was a class that taught me to unlearn that and how Christopher Columbus did not discover Haiti and what he did to the original people over there on that island country. So it definitely helped me unlearn that and love myself more and my history more as a Haitian. So shout out to Florida A&M one more time. Shout out to
Florida A&M. Alan, I don't care about FAMU. What you got to say about it? 'Cause you ain't go to either one of our schools.
I did not. But I got a wife. I got to keep a happy home, bro. So shout out to FAMU. Shout out to FAMU. My wife's sorority, the Alpha Kappa Alpha. Shout out to all her line sisters, everybody. Like I'm all FAMU'd up.
They have a shared
Listen,
experience.
because
It has a shared experience.
and because this show is over in 8 minutes and I go back to reality, shout out to my wife, who is also for FAMU and also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. So let me watch my mouth. But hell, Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman University. Alan, your thoughts on that? What were you about to say about that? Well, whatever we were talking about.
I mean, I just want to talk about, going back to the putting the doctor hat on and just talk about the science behind that. Like what makes Haiti so unique is that we have our own nation, right? Like we are part of, we are in the Western Caribbean, we are in the Western Hemisphere, we are closest to the United States. So we have a million plus Haitians in the United States. And our identity is predicated on the fact that we can carve out ourselves in a way that I think African Americans can't carve out themselves in the United States. Similar to other Caribbean countries, they have identities. It's not the African identity that we should all aspire to understand and know and embed within our own psyches, but it's one step removed from African Americans who have lost their identity and are unable to connect back to their African roots. So we have our way of eating, we have our way of dancing, we have our way of celebrating music, and it identifies us. You can walk into a place and someone can look at you and say, okay, that person's Haitian, right? And is it the bone structure? Is it the feature?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it also could be the way we dress, the way we walk, our swag. There's something about being Haitian. There's something about being
Your face is so Haitian-y. First of all, it's not only the name.
How do you have a Haitian-y face?
It's beautiful. It's the cheeks. Okay, so if you look at my face, you guys see that I smile a lot. So you'll see the cheeks, right? It's right up in here. It's our eye structure. For some reason, a lot of Haitians have almond eye shapes, right? It's just kind of like that comes with our culture, and it's the fontet, right? I don't right up in here, right?
What is the fontet? I'm guessing
tell you where you from. Right up in here.
We got the real race science over here on the Benjamin Dixon.
It's a science too. It's really a look because I see that Dr. Pompilus likes to say that there's a science behind it. But seriously, there really is, because it's almost like when you see, I can look at somebody and I can tell that they're African here in Atlanta. I can tell that they're not Haitian, they're African. Even though they'll look at me and be like, "What part of Africa are you from?" And I'm like, "None." I'm from Haitian.
Wait, what'd you say, Rebecca? No.
But here when I look at you, I can see, I'm like, you got Haitian features.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I absolutely. But the one thing though, and man, this is what I really love so much, because I just love, I love the community that you all I love that interconnectivity that you all have across the Haitian diaspora, because it really, it was the collectivism. If I remember any conversation we've ever had for hours upon hours, it was the collectivism versus the individualism. And we were discussing this in Costa Rica until the sun came up every other night. How many bottles of wine did all? Because it was a lot of us, and we went through I don't know. It was 4 of us, and we went through four bottles of wine, debating collectivism. And
what year was this?
It was around Trayvon. Trayvon Martin.
I think
that's how you call it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a while ago, but that conversation, it started with a bunch of people. I think we had a gentleman from Puerto Rico. He served under the Obama security, something like that. He was on security detail or something like that. And so, but at the end of the night, it was Ben and I just debating about that. And so this argument is, it's called The 6 Dimensions of Cultural Dimensions by Gert Hofstede. And what that essentially says is that certain nations have certain cultures, and they're divided by either being collectivist culture or individualist culture. So in America, the individualist is predominant. And I think what's happened is that the African American community has adopted that culture. So you're out at 18, you're on your own, you're going to be, trucking it by yourself, doing everything by yourself, and you have to set your path by yourself. Collectivist culture really is about we. Everything is about us. You're an extension of your family. And so I think when you're faced with adversity in America, that it's really important to have this collectivist thinking that we are unified. And so that's where it comes from. Haitians are, despite that's everything that's going on, and the opposition, the political unrest, like there's a phrase that says unity fait la force, which is we're unified when we're together, or we're stronger when we're together. And so that's just, that's a mind frame. That's a way of thinking that really identifies and helps our culture. And the other thing I want to say is to what my sister Rebecca was saying, my whole research is around the benefits of growing up in that multicultural world. So we have that Haitian culture. We have that strong identity. We went to these universities. We were equipped. We're educated professionals, and what we need to do is reapply that back to Haiti. So there's called a cycle: brain drain, brain train, and brain gain. And that third element is what we need to what needs to happen in Haiti. So we need to repatriate the knowledge stocks, the capital, the human capital that we have, and bring that back to Haiti in assistance to help accelerate development.
So, yeah, I agree with that 100%. I feel like it is up to us, who is in the diaspora, or who has opportunity, who has education, and who has, the space to help bring awareness to the other side of Haiti, and to, help tourism come in, help rebuild its character as we know it to be. I know that for a long time, when I was younger, we never went back to Haiti because my parents just said, oh, danger. Like, it's just like too dangerous. And it's like, but this is where y'all from. Let them speak about it to their friends. They're talking about all the good old days and how Haiti used to be and da-da-da-da. But then if I say, Mom, I want to go to Haiti one day, they're going to be like, no, da-da-da-da. It's too dangerous. But now the older that I've gotten, and I've got to experience that with my oldest brother, and just to go back to my mom's community and say to myself, okay, if I can't take care of all of Haiti because my little self cannot, what I can do is use my platform to bring awareness, to talk about Haiti in a different kind of light, to not only talk about the negative, but definitely bring about a positive conversation or an educating conversation. And then at the same time, put back into my mother's small community in her village area of where she lived. That's what I can do. And what I can do is like go and bring protection to the women in the community so that, and help them understand what protection is and those kind of things, So that's where I was like, okay, all of us who really love Haiti and not only rock the flag because it's popular right now. There's a difference, when we rock that red and blue because it's popular right now, right? We say we Azo, we Haitian. It's cool, right? When it's music, when it's affiliated with our music, when people say, yo, man, I got a friend that's Azo, it's all cute. But when we really have to talk about, being Haitian and representing Haiti, that means that we also got to reach back and make sure we protect what's ours. Yesterday, Vania from the Haitian Times was saying that we are literally just right here from becoming a failed country. And I don't want us to become a failed country. That breaks my heart to think about that every day because I know and I've seen the beauty of Haiti and I've seen the beauty and resilience of our people. But what's being shown in the media is totally different. Yes, we have a lot of things that are going down in Haiti, but it's up to us, the millennials, the Generation Zers, to definitely make sure that we do our due diligence when we're going off and we're representing Jamaica on yachts and boats and stuff like that. We don't forget Haiti, and we don't forget they got the same water. It's like the water is just as beautiful in Haiti. For us to go back and give to our community, put money into Haiti, and do what we can. I know I have friends who have built an Airbnb. I mean, the Airbnb is everything in Haiti. So whatever we can do, small or big, as Haitians, as products of Haiti, I think it's our duty to definitely take care of home. It's us. It's us. It ain't gonna be nobody else but us.
Nope. And what you're saying? Sorry. Yeah. What? Just real quick. What she's saying? She's talking about being a transnational diaspora, and that's what we need to get to. at that transnational level to where it's not just about remittances and sending back money, but it's about active participation within the development initiatives. You talked about going back. There's that's called diaspora tourism, and Ghana really. I don't know if you guys ever heard, but the year of the return that was widely successful. I'd love to see that in Haiti. Because there's the old people that left Haiti and never been back. There's sort of the middle-aged to young generation that may have experienced Haiti and have the opportunity to experience Haiti in a different light. So it's look, safety and security. Once that foundational piece is put in, you're gonna see it. We can see it, and we can do it.
Yeah, I believe we can do it too. So we put that out in the atmosphere. That is such a good thing. I would love to see a year of the return for Haitians in Haiti. And let's just have a good time. We're dancing to our music. We're eating our food. I think it's possible. I know right now we're going through so much. We've been going through so much. But listen, it's been since our freedom, since we definitely demanded our freedom, we've been going through so much. And we're here today. So I think that we got so much more to go. I know people are saying our country has failed. Some people are giving up on it, but I know that a lot more of us aren't giving up on it. So shout out to Haiti. Like I said, free Haiti until we say it backwards. Haiti is free. And in my mind, Haiti will always look. That's right. Look, we always got something Haitian on the side.
Always somewhere.
Always. But thank you so much, Alan, for coming on the show. We will have you more often because I love how you break things down. I know I might say it in a just a regular verbiage, but I love how you break it down and you make it, there's a science behind it. You know what I'm saying? I love that. I live for it.
Hey, listen, I know now, see, anyway, we'll talk about the program but on another episode, but I know they're proud. I know you made the program proud this morning, man. You spent a lot of years doing that research that you did. So shout out I'll give them one. Shout out to the people over at University of Southern Mississippi. Y'all produce some really great content but this brother, thank y'all for giving this brother the type of platform, the opportunity to get that PhD, that research that you're bringing to it. So shout out to them. But most of all, man, thanks for coming on because I do believe, Rebecca, this is the best coverage on the internet right now, probably, period, on Haiti.
I'd like to think so myself. I think we've broadened the conversation to just more than it being about the assassination, which is very important and was very shocking, to breaking it down to what's happening in politics there from an expert who actually works for the Haitian Times and gets that news every day, to us having a broader conversation of the diaspora with Dr. Allen here. So I think that, yes, you guys come over here and you know how Haitian I am. Guys, you guys understand that when we're talking about Haiti, it's always going to be Haitian as hell, always, forever and forever.
And she gonna keep talking. If you James, where the music at?
But before we get out of here, I want Alan to tell people where they can find him. Okay, before we get out of here, Alan, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. Diaspora Partner is my handle. You can go to my website, HaitiResearch.com, if you want more information on the facts, the statistics, my study, my research. And hit me up, LinkedIn. I'm here. I'm accessible, and I want to talk to everybody. I want to talk to people and calibrate the narrative about Haiti. That's my mission. That's my goal, and I'm ready to do that. So I appreciate you guys for allowing me on this platform. My brother Ben, my sister Rebecca, and everybody else I spoke to today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, pleasure, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We're right here with you. So thanks for coming on again. I will keep you on forever. So let me stop talking. Love you guys. Mean it. Alan, you enjoy the rest of your day. Ben, you enjoy the rest of your day. Bubba, take us out with some good music. We will see you guys on Monday with more Like It or Not.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. All right, y'all. Going to give y'all a few seconds. It's time to cut out of here. So see you on Monday. Deuces.
When I get you back, oh yeah. When I get you back, oh yeah.